Hi YouTube! We are streamed this on Twitch. I'm just hitting record now so you guys can see us ramble about Dragon Age for probably a very long time because we are all very much like Dragon Age. Pyrea may be joining us soon. She says she's on her way home. But hi everyone watching on YouTube, and I don't think there's anyone in Twitch yet. But if there is... Oh, there's 3 people in Twitch already. Alright, cool. It's probably all 3 of you. Anyway, go ahead and introduce yourselves because you guys haven't been on my channel before, and tell people where they can find you. I'll just call on people. Sarah!
Hi, I'm Sarah, also known as LadyCrazyDragon. I am on Twitch, YouTube, and TikTok. I talk about Dragon Age. A lot of the time I talk about Solus, and I tend to talk a lot about lore and just random theories. Yeah, that's me. I also make a lot of Solus edits. I'm doing one a day until Veilguard is out, and I think I'm on like 90 now. I have a problem.
You have a problem, and his name is Solus.
I call it a solution.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I don't know if I like Solus's solution, though.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there.
Okay, on that note, Konn.
Yeah, hi, I'm Connor. I'm PurpleKonn on, I almost said Twitch, not Twitch, TikTok. I'm PurpleKonn on TikTok. I make a lot of content about just general Dragon Age lore. Definitely obsessed with Solus. My bio says that I'm Purple Hawk masquerading as Varric, and that's just that's me.
Hold on. And, Briar, I'm adjusting your camera so we can get the Solus plushie in the back on the overlay.
Oh, amazing! Yes!
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, Briar.
Hello, my name's Briar, they, them pronouns if you would, and you can find me at @beanabees_ everywhere on the internet. I keep it simple and stupid for y'all. I talk about whatever's on my mind. Currently, it's Solus 24/7, maybe 24/8 at this point. I don't know how that's possible, but I'm making it work. You know, I talk about Star Wars, D&D, TTRPGs, writing, drawing, all of it. I'm a big nerd. So hang out.
So the gist is, if you guys follow me or subscribe to me, you should definitely go follow all 3 of these people because they all love Dragon Age and D&D and all that other good stuff that you guys subscribe to me for. If you're somehow watching this video for my Dragon Ball Z videos, sorry you went on the nerdier side of my channel. But anyway, quick warning before we get started. There are gonna be spoilers in this chat to things we know about the Veilguard, the entire Dragon Age current trilogy, for sure, because things are going to be talked about. And I figure start with a light question that could also not be considered a light question for everyone. What's a character that you despise that everyone else, or not despise, but even dislike, that everyone else loves? And vice versa. What's a character you like that everyone seems to dislike? I'll go first on that one. I like Blackwall, and when everyone else was making their character tier list and putting him in E or F, I was like, do I have bad taste? I just think he's well written. And I like... That's probably because my second playthrough, I romanced him, and I was like, there's a lot of trauma here, and I like trauma and drama. Not realizing the trauma and drama that a soulless romance could have got me instead, but...
I described a video about Blackwell because people commented it's like, how can you not like Blackwell? You love Solus. And I described him as like the Diet Coke version of Solus. And like, sometimes you want Diet Coke, and that's lovely. But I don't. I want despair and utter heartbreak. So I go for Solus.
See, and I also think Blackwell's banter is kind of funny most of the time. Unless it's with Cole, then he's just kind of mean. And I'm like, hey, quit being mean to Cole. And it's per character I dislike that everyone else seems to like. I don't know if I really have a big one. Because I tend to don't like people that everyone else dislikes, I think. I don't know, do people like Oghren? I hate Oghren.
I don't think anyone likes Oghren.
That was gonna be my character. That's my character. On that note, a character that I really like that nobody else does is Oghren, and it's specifically because of his potential. Listen to me. Oghren has the potential to be written as a PTSD veteran who came home to a society that did not know how to take care of him. And instead, he is the butt of every single joke, and a pervert and a predator, and I really hate what they did with him.
Yeah,
but he had so much potential. Anyway, a character that I dislike that everybody else
silent.
seems... Yeah, sorry about that.
It's hey, honestly, good reasoning. I don't agree with it, but everyone's allowed to have their opinions.
Fully understood. I connected with Ogren on a level that I probably should be ashamed to admit.
It's probably Steve Bloom's voice acting. Let's be real. It's Steve Bloom.
That might be it. That might be it.
I will admit, Ogren has some very funny moments. Like, my favorite line in Origins that's comedy, I think, is, "The dog doesn't know that. It'll be its sudden downfall. You hear that, dog humper?" Ogren has moments.
He does.
But then he goes and sexually harasses Wynn, and I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. And he does have some character growth, which is nice to see. But his personal quest, where you go off and try and find him a lady friend or whatever, is just so beyond the pale of not relevant to his development at all. Like, I just think he got a whole bunch of short sticks when it came to writing. I feel very similar to Vivian. She was made out to be an ornament. Even the people who like her, even her writers talk about her in object form. Like, she's the jewel, she's the sparkle, whatever. But they never, Anyway,
that's my I always forget people dislike her. I like Vivian.
Yeah.
I may not agree with a lot of the things she says, like, outright, but she says them for the right. You can understand where she's coming from.
Yes.
Versus,
I adore Vivian.
So that's my like that everyone else seems to dislike, I think.
Her banter is top tier, with Solus especially. It's great.
The way
There's a line with Dorian that always rubs me a little bit the wrong way when she just straight up says about murdering mages that don't submit. I'm always like, but then she has a go at Solus when he says the same thing about just straight up killing mages who don't do the right thing, and it's like, you two are the same person.
She's so mean to Blackwall if you have them in your party together.
As she should be.
Well, like, the only one that's uncalled for is the first time they banter, where he's like, "Are you alright, Lady Vivian? I just couldn't get there in time." And she's like, "Oh, you sweet summer child. I don't need your help." But he's just literally like, "What did I do?" It's like, my headcanon is because she knows he's Rainier the whole time, and that's why she hates him from the get-go. Like, that's my theory, because, like, there's no other real reason for her to just be that, because she's not that mean to anyone else from the get-go, except Blackwall. And it's like, oh, she knows you're Tom Rainier the whole time.
It's at least possible. It's possible. She's been involved in Orlesian high society for years at this point. So it's not unheard of. That's actually something that I had never even considered before.
Yeah, I never thought of that.
I think about Vivian all the time.
And she despises Gaspard, so it's like it would make sense that she would keep tabs on people who did crappy things. But anyway, what about you, Briar? Who do you like and dislike that everyone else does the opposite?
I mean, man,
it's a hard question when you really get down to it.
I feel like this is more so, again, the Solus blind spot. I'm like, I don't know. Everyone else is just kind of...
Yeah.
So your answer for a character you dislike that everyone else likes is everyone but Solus.
I dislike that everyone likes... I feel like none of my answers are revolutionary or anything like that. I feel like there's a sufficient amount.
No, they don't have to be. It's just a fun talking point.
I made a video that I was like, I don't care for Sarah. Not that I don't like her. That it's not for me. I think that was like the one that people were like, tomato, you don't understand her, and I'm like, I understand that she's
tomato. See, I don't have any strong feelings about Sarah. She kind of annoys me, but that's about it. I'm like, but it's probably because I don't usually play elves, so she didn't piss me off.
Yeah, I always play elves.
Like when you play a Kunari, it's like, when you play Kunari, she's like all up your butt, especially if you're a female Kunari. Like, she's like, hi, and it's like, okay, you're a little weird, go away. But I played a playthrough as an elf before my YouTube playthrough, and I was like, wow, she's a bitch if you're Dalish.
She can be.
Yeah. It's not that I got, like, as a person of color, like, I've met plenty of Sarahs in my time around the sun, like, definitively. I feel like my issue with Sarah, I guess going into it, is more so the writing around how you can interact with her. She's just not enjoyable to interact with from, like, like as an Inquisitor. I've never played as anything other than an elf Inquisitor. But I don't know if the writing is all that much different. But like, yeah, I don't think there's any time that you can like choose to be empathetic towards her. You can either like sink to her level of like immaturity, or you can talk to her like she's a child, which she is not. Because she was a child, she would not be there, even though some people try to, oh, she's the youngest, so she doesn't know, she's still an adult, right? But you don't get the opportunity to interact with Sarah as an adult, and that's really frustrating in a way that like I think Dragon Age has like a character that's sort of kind of a little whimsical. Like Meryl, you can interact with Meryl as an adult, even if she's a little bit like you know, naive and a little bit immature and a little weird and out there. Like you can still interact with her as an adult and have adult conversation with her. I don't feel like you can have the same thing with Sarah. And so that's part of the reason why I'm like, I really care for this character. I'll stick to reading and writing fan fictions with her in.
They definitely infantilize her and Cole too, like a lot in Inquisition. And Inquisition, that's one of my big things with the writing, is there's not as much nuance to how you can interact with your party members, especially like there was in Dragon Age 2. Like Dragon Age 2, I feel like was better written on like how you could interact with your party members. Then again, I think at this point popular opinion that Dragon Age 2 did the best character writing. Like
it has the best writing, and I'll fight.
Yeah.
It has the best writing.
I go back and forth on best overall writing for all because I like all three, the writing in all three for the most part. I think Inquisition's definitely the weakest for the most part, but there's a few nuggets of great characters that are like kind of push it through for me, and the main plot I feel like is more unique than Dragon Age Origins, where it's like go to the people, talk to them. Now, go fight army. Ooh, big dragon, bad guy. Like, Origins was a very paint-by-numbers fantasy story with great characters and stuff like that in there.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I have the very unpopular opinion that Origins is the worst of the three, and I'm sorry, I don't care.
As a video, as a game overall, it's my least favorite for sure.
It's my least favorite. I think it's a good game. This is not to say that I dislike Origins. I do really enjoy the plot. I love that it has set up this sprawling world that we can all play in constantly. I think it is the weakest of the three in several aspects.
See, I've got a really nonsense answer for like which is my favorite game, because I don't have a favorite, because I have weaknesses and strengths of all of them, because 2 is so close to being perfect. But if I have to go in that damn cave again, I'm going to kill someone.
One more time in that same cave.
Well, that's actually...
The wall's in a different place. I can't go that way this time, but I could last time. That just drives me insane. But then Inquisition, they made 2 big maps with nothing in them. And then Origins, I love with my heart and soul, but it is nostalgia because the combat.
It's nostalgia. The combat. But anyway, on the Briar, is there a character you like that everyone else seems to dislike? That's not Solus.
I need everyone to.
All right, who do you like?
Who do you like?
I think Gaspard is funny. I
love Gaspard.
I love
Gaspard.
Duke Gaspard? I like Gaspard too.
I'm glad because in
the Masked Empire, he like so.
Yeah.
Guys Wicked Hearts, we don't get a whole lot of his characterization.
Yeah. I like him. In the book, he's so much, and like I had to keep saying that in my Let's Play because I was like, my Kunari Inquisitor is very military minded, and I was role playing as him. I'm like, he's gonna put Gaspard on the throne, and I had to keep saying, I'm like, listen, guys, please read Masked Empire and find out why I like this man because. Yes. I hate Celine so much.
Oh yeah, Celine's good. Like, Celine's awful. Sorry, can we swear on this show?
Sorry.
What?
Huh? Can we swear on this show?
Yeah, I don't.
I will.
Okay, cool.
I don't give a flippity flying fluckety fluck. Fluckety fuck.
Okay, excellent.
Okay, I was like, oh yeah, but I think like when I played Inquisition the first time, I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna put Celine and Briar back together. Fuck that.
No!
He's a misogynist. Red Mask Empire found my second husband, Felasan, and then I was like,
Felasan.
Actually, really, really funny, and Celine needs to die. She gets stabbed every playthrough now.
Oh, dude, like, well, they give you some context in Inquisition, like, about, like, everything that happened with, like, Hallam Shral and stuff, but when you read it in the book, you are very much like, fuck, I remember I read it after I did my first playthrough of Inquisition, I pointed at the book, I remember going, I'm killing you next time! I was like, you die!
what she did to Briala, it's like, I always put Briala in charge now. Briala, it's like, Felasan, like, no, Briala's in charge. Yes, Mad can be there, it's fine.
I thought about it this playthrough, but I was role-playing a military-minded Kunari Inquisitor, and I'm like, I don't think I can justify the roleplay aspect of this, because that was a big part of my playthrough, was I was like, I'm going to roleplay as my characters no matter what. And that was the thing, I was like, there's no way he'd put Briala in charge. Like, he would...
No, I'm all for the elves, so it was whoever can get the most help for the elves, because elf.
Yeah, and it was... And I got some comments like, how dare you kill Celine? And I'm like, read the book!
Like... So, you know, similar vein of thought, I do dislike Celine. This is not me defending her actions, because, like, again, spoilers, but she did a whole bunch of stuff. I don't even have time to get into it. But I do think that she catches a little bit more flack than I think Gaspard would if he had done the exact same things.
I gotta agree.
That's true.
Yeah.
Because while she is a conniving and very cold individual, there are still those moments where you can see she doesn't want to do this crap. She doesn't want to hurt these people. She wants to put up her museums, and she wants to have her music, and she wants to live peacefully with Briala. She just can't. She can't, because it's play the game or die. And she's already almost died several times, so she's got to play the game. And she's got to play the game better than literally everybody else, or she dies. So, while I hate what she did, if we're talking about pure strategy, she's still better than Gaspard.
Yeah. When you said she's got to die, in my head I immediately went, then perish. Then perish.
Then perish.
Or lay with the fiery passion of 1,000 suns.
Oh.
I want the empire to burn.
I cannot stand Orlais. Like, okay,
Yep.
I have another dislike that everyone seems to like, and it's from the first book. I don't like Merrick. And everyone I talk to who's read the books likes King Merrick, and I'm like,
nope.
David Gator tries to make you like him in that book so hard, and I'm like, no, this guy sucks. Like, I like Logain better than him.
I like Logain. Like, genuinely, I like Logain.
Yeah, that's another thing. On the note of the Gaspard, after you read the book, you like him more. I hated Logain my first playthrough of Origins. Read the book and was like, well, fuck, now I kind of get him. Like, I get why.
I really, really disliked Logain in the beginning.
If Merrick has no haters, I am dead.
Yeah, no problem. But by the end of the game, if you beat him in the one-on-one duel, whether you're Alistair or whatever, and when he sinks to his knees and says, the kingdom will be safe with you, and, like, lets you decapitate him if that's what you choose, that was when I was like, oh, shit. Did I make the wrong decision? Because, like, genuinely, it seems a little bit coincidental, but almost everything that we can attribute that is, like, genuinely evil that Logain does or is a part of, there is an explanation. Maybe he really did think that Ostagar was lost. Maybe he really didn't think that it was worth losing that many lives. And it could be argued that he didn't know anything about how and the torture and the Kuslans being murdered. Like, there are things...
He does know about the elves, though.
Yeah, that's the thing. The stuff at the lands...
That's the bit when it's your own family.
The stuff he does in Origins is... Like, the actual things he does after Ostagar are what settle it for me that he needs to be... Because he... I mean, I usually play as a Kuzland, and... no. Like, no. But I also, my second favorite origin is the City Elf, and hell no!
I just did City Elf this last time for the first time, but I actually kept him alive because I had it as like a narrative thing that she killed Vaughn, and it's the sacrifice about becoming a Grey Warden and you put duty over everything else. Having an extra Grey Warden at that point is so important, because even if Alistair does leave, he's still like alive to stop things if you need them. So it's like, I was just like, for the narrative story. I thought
Which
her
makes
killing
sense.
Vaughn but sparing Logain even after everything he does was more interesting. Also, I'd never seen him in Inquisition before, and I really wanted to. So-
I really his presence in Inquisition was also one of the things
I did that once. I liked him in
it's
Inquisition.
really good.
My favorite warden to have in Inquisition is
and he's hot.
Yeah, Logan's a little hot. But one of my favorite things in Inquisition, I actually think I like having Alistair there the most, but also I don't think I can ever go through with choosing between Alistair and Hawk and the Fate again. That break. I saw like TikTok of someone who was doing it for the first time, and she was actually crying because she was like, I spent so much time trying to get them perfect lives, and I was like, oh, you sweet summer child, no one has a perfect life in Fate Us. But I also attribute a lot of my like instant murder of Logain when I first played Origins to the fact that I was 16-year-old dude, bro. So I was like, it was like 16-year-old dude, bro. Me was like, nah, I don't like this guy. Let's kill him. I was like, I'm glad I've grown up a lot to where I can look at nuance.
Yeah.
But back then, I was everything's black and white. But it
makes the games more fun when you're looking at it from all of the sides, because it's how they were intended to be viewed, you know.
It's anyway. We haven't gotten to Sarah's dislike and like character, which
hey, I've got a like. I don't know if this is a controversial like or not, but I always see a lot of hate for Meryl, and I'm like, I really like Meryl.
Oh, the dude.
I don't think people infantiles Meryl a lot, and it's like, I don't. She did that much wrong. All right, she does a teeny bit of blood magic, but she doesn't she's just straight up murdering people. It's her own blood.
It's a lot of dude bros. It's a lot of the dude bro, the same dude bros who are like, it's a lot of the Origins like only fanboys. Like I've noticed every time I meet someone who hates Meryl, I'm like, and then I have more conversations, and I'm like, you're not somebody I want to be friends with, even though you like. Because Meryl, I can get, like, some people are like, oh, she does blood magic, oh, well, she makes a lot of stupid mistakes. I'm like, yeah, she makes a lot of dumb mistakes because she's a person who's very passionate and is holding true to her passions. Granted, do I necessarily think her passion is a good idea? Not necessarily, but it's how you look at it. Like, my Hawk definitely didn't. He was like, I mean, I guess whatever you want to do.
We know what the mirror does though now with like hindsight.
But in hindsight,
we see it in Inquisition. So then I'm just still like, why did so many people hate what she's doing? Because
I get
what she's doing is fixing this mirror.
When 2 came out,
also,
I understood it.
Demons and spirits and demons, they're like two sides of the same coin. And so people are like, oh well, it's a demon helping it. I'm like, do you know that, or is it just because like Solus says that we're expecting a pride demon, so we see a pride demon because that's what they're expecting.
My theory, and in my Let's Play, I roleplayed it like my Hawk was like, oh, she's a demon. My theory is that it was a spirit of wisdom until Marithari imprisoned it inside her, and then it became a pride demon. That's my theory.
No,
that woman.
It's confirmed. Listen, I have my problems with Marithari too, but it is confirmed in some codex entries that it was always a demon. I actually had that theory too, and I had the conversation with one of my friends, and he was like, no, actually, and I was like, damn it.
I need to go through the Dragon Age 2 codexes. I've got a Reddit article that has them all. I'm finding that codex.
Weirdly enough, with it being my favorite story, I don't go through the
right now.
2 is the one I go through the codexes the least, even though I think it has the best writing, because it's like, I'm just here to go flirt with Fenris.
Well, all the lore is in codexes in Inquisition, so you just end up spending all your time going through codex entries in Inquisition.
Yeah. But no, like I like Meryl. When I first played the game, I was a little bit like meh about Meryl. But then now I'm like, I like Meryl as a character. She's very well written, I think.
Also, she's Gwen from Torchwood, and Solus is Gareth, who is Yanto in Torchwood. So I like that there's a slight Solus connection. Anything that's a slight Solus connection.
Any Solus connection. All right, now who's your dislike that everyone likes? That's not Blackwall.
I'm really boring with my dislikes. I used to really like Anders until I took him out, because I didn't like Fenris until I took them out like together, because I always play a mage Hawk, and Fenris used to really wind me up that he just hated mages all the time, so I just never took him anywhere because I'm a pathological people pleaser. And it's only like actually spending time with them together and listening to more of that banter about. I never took Meryl and Anders out much. So yeah, it was only like with hindsight that I'm like, oh no, Anders, you're not great.
That's
Yeah.
My main party is Meryl, Anders, and Fenris.
See,
My main party now is Fenris, Isabella, and Varric.
See, Dragon Age 2 is the only game where I play a mage, like, as my main, like, all the time. I almost always play Mage Hawk.
Yes.
So my party is usually... I rotate between Aveline and Fenris. I rotate between Varric and Isabella, because I like Isabella. And then I'll do Anders and Meryl routinely, and Sebastian can just stay in the fucking church where he belongs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I've not met a single person that actually likes Sebastian that much.
We have a mutual.
Sebastian
I was about to say we have a mutual.
That's it. One.
And I support them wholeheartedly.
Love Sebastian all you want. I'll give them this. He's pretty. He's a pretty man.
Pretty. And his armor is hands down the best in the game. Why did they give it to him?
Like, one of the times I love having Anders and Sebastian in the party, because that's the one time that I love Anders is when he's constantly shit talking Sebastian. He's like, "Is that Andraste on your crotch?" It's like, because his belt buckle. It's like, so you honor the makeup by strapping his wife's face right above your, And he's like,
"Yep,
it's to honor Andra." Ah, it's like,
sure.
But that was a fun topic that led into 7 different tangents. Okay.
Yep.
So, spoilers for the Veilguard. How mad we are at Solus for doing the stabby stab.
Oh, Win, leave. Win, if you're still here, leave. I saw my mutual in the chat who was definitely avoiding spoilers. Leave.
Ah, yeah, spoilers. How? That's why I didn't fully say it. But how mad we are? I mean, when the first trailer dropped and he blew up Bianca, I was like, "You son of a bitch!" But then I saw the rest of that scene and I was like, "Oh, it got worse."
Yeah,
not at all.
I'm really not.
But Varric is my homie. Like, I'm like,
let's get that out of your mouth.
Right? Yeah.
Put that down. Why would you do that?
Yeah,
we know Varric is the dad of the group. That's what he would do. He's like, "Hey, come on. Solus, no." Varric boops him.
No, I'm not. I'm honestly not upset, but it's exclusively because I don't really know a whole lot about it yet. I have only heard of that happening. I still haven't made it through.
Yeah, sorry, I sent you so many videos yesterday.
No, you're totally fine. I appreciate it.
It's definitely
what happens
after the Bianca break.
Yes.
Solus is still doing the thing, and Rook and whoever they brought with them is trying to stop everything, and they do. And Varric walks up and grabs Solus, and Solus turns around and stabs him in the chest.
Well, for me, it's basic kitchen safety. Solus is trying to redo the ritual, and Varric goes for the dagger. They both reach for the gun. People.
Yeah, they both reach for it, yeah.
And then it's in that scuffle that Solus stabs him, but he does kind of purposefully do it. But Varric's hand is on the weapon the entire time.
Oh, he very much purposely does. He looks at Varric for a second and then goes, and it's like.
Solus definitely had a moment of like, I could work with this. I really think that he had a moment where he goes, something clicked in his brain, and he was like, because he makes plans up like this. Are they good plans? But he was like, all right, fuck it. This plan's not working. Second plan, stab Varric. Don't know what that entails, right? But the thing is, like, if he actually wanted to do damage to it, we just saw him blow up Bianca 5 seconds ago.
Right.
He could have blinked.
Yeah,
he literally could have just blinked to kill him. I don't ever think he was intending to kill him.
He wasn't intending to kill him, but
he just needed to stop him so he could fix the bloody thing that was falling apart.
He
did,
did.
Because you've got 2 fucking Evanuris that are about to come out.
That's true. It's like, I'm not actually angry at Solus for doing it. I get why Solus did it, but I'm gonna be petty about it the whole playthrough. I'm gonna be like, yeah, you stabbed Varric.
You better believe so is Varric. Varric's gonna be petty about it the whole time.
I think Varric he's gonna be petty about it. But I was reading like Inquisition codexes the other day, and I'm like, not codexes, like banter the other day. I'm like, you know what? This man does not want to be out here. He
needs to retire.
Let him.
How could you have stabbed me?
I think I made a TikTok about that where I was like, just let Varric go back to being the Viscount. Just let him go back and chill.
Go back to Kirkwall. Also, I do think that for new players coming into this game, we needed a scene that set Solus up to be a proper antagonist. And I think doing that early in the game sets it up almost perfectly. If you want people to feel sad, do something to Varric, and it will do the job.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I think it's the best way to set it up for him. He needs to be at rock bottom, and I also think it's very like of what happened to Felasan and hurting a friend to get where he is, and the difference that he will feel now compared to how he felt when that happened to Felasan, I think will be really interesting as well. But no, it had to kind of be his lowest point for him to then be able to come back from that or not. And I think that's going to be the.
It's definitely. Yeah, I'm just gonna be petty, and I know Varric is too, and I get why. Yeah. And I'm definitely not. My first playthrough of Inquisition, I was very much fuck Solus after I played Trespasser the first time in 2015. I was like, fuck Solus, I hate this guy.
So was I, but different reason.
But as I was fuck Solus figuratively. Sarah was like, fuck Solus, literally.
He's so hot in that armor. I'm sorry.
He is.
He's so hot. I will die on that hill. I don't understand.
I like him with the. I like him with the hair. I like him with the hair. I will say, from what we've seen in Veilguard, the mohawk. I like the mohawk.
Hot take. I like the bald better.
Bald is
I do
better.
like the bald better.
Bald
I do think I like the bald better. Every time someone does a mod with him have hair, it feels wrong. I feel like something has been done to me. I feel like a crime has been committed against me. But I do like what they did. There was no hair that they were gonna give Solus in the past that someone was gonna like. Yeah, that was the best. I was like, yes. I was happy that I was right about the hair color because I was like,
He's a fucking blonde.
Yes.
But it's. And yeah, I'm definitely Solus is very attractive, and it's just one of those things that like comes with age, I think, because the first time I played Inquisition again after not playing since Trespasser, I think back in like 2018, and I was like, I like Solus a lot more than I remember, and then like now in my most recent playthrough, my Inquisitor Adar, he viewed Solus as his best friend outside of Bull. Like obviously him and Bull were close because like that. And camaraderie, but like outside of Bull, Solus was his best friend, like by far, and he was like, that's why he was hurt when Solus left, and so his whole final conversation, I did the we will stop you, but he did it from a point of like, I don't want to kill you, I really don't
make me,
it was the don't make me, which my first playthrough Trespasser, I was like, I'm gonna kill him, it was like, but now like, we've grown, we've matured, we don't want to murder Solus, we just want to stop him, and I think it's gonna be funny trying to make my Inquisitor in the Veilguard because like the Kunari were so restricted in Inquisition, so like my Inquisitor's gonna look nothing like he did in Inquisition, but he's gonna look way hotter, like because some of the Kunari I've seen people putting out, like Bioware put out the most generic dumb looking Kunari for the trailers, and people were like, what is this? And then like all the Kunari I've seen people make that have gotten access to Character Creator are so hot. And I'm like, and then people are still showing that first screenshot of the first Kunari they showed. And it's like, look how ugly it is. And then it's like, go look at other things, guys. People have been making good Kunari. It's like, I don't know. I'm very... I am a Kunari fan.
I'm always an elf. I'm just always an elf.
I'm going to try this time to play an elf in my first playthrough because it feels more fitting, and also because I can make a tall buff elf, and I like to self-insert a little bit with my characters in most RPGs, and for me, that like I work hard on working out, lifting weights. So, like I want my character, especially if I'm playing, specifically if I'm playing a warrior, I want them to look like they can pick up a greatsword and swing it around. So it's like elf inquisitors and elf wardens for me just didn't do that. So I always either played a human or dwarf in Origins if I'm playing a warrior specifically, or a human and a Kunari in Inquisition. Usually a Kunari, but if I play a rogue or a mage, I would have my elf is my favorite. And that's why I'm happy that there's body type sliders now, so I can play an elf warrior and feel like, kind of looks like me a little bit. They're still not going to let me have beards, which is fine, I guess. But I do like I feel like the elves they're my second favorite race in Dragon Age, and I feel like they have the best and also worst lore, because it's so all over the place.
It's organic lore is probably a good way of describing it, because obviously the lore we get in Origins is all based on what the Dalish understand, which is a big game of telephone. So it's obvious that it's not accurate, but it's close, and you get so many nuggets of information, and there's still things that we don't know, like the Forgotten Ones. There's a bit of codex entries about them.
We don't know shit about them.
There's still like, yeah, so we don't know, but I find it really interesting, the elf lore, especially after Inquisition and especially after Trespasser.
Oh, yeah.
Every codex entry in the Shattered Library just fills my heart with joy. Like, I will just walk around that library. I want to just be in that library. That's where Sarah's happy place is.
Do we think we're gonna find anything out about the Forgotten Ones in the Veilguard?
I hope so.
Yeah, I think that's who Solus is referencing when he says the people. I'm pretty sure the Forgotten Ones are when he says the people, and how he's like, modern elves are not my people. Like, if he's when he's talking with like Mythal at the end, and he's like, but the people, they need me. He's not talking about the elves. Like,
no, he's not talking about the elves.
He's not talking about the elves. I'm like, so who the fuck are you talking about? I'm very convinced that, like, that he's talking about the Forgotten Ones. The Forgotten Ones were the people that got left in the Fade when all those things and bridges started crumbling.
Because obviously
it was spirits. But I suppose Forgotten Ones might just be spirits because they've been forgotten, and maybe
the Forgotten Ones are very explicitly
said to be other elven gods. Like,
yes, according to the Dalish.
It's like the Aesir and the Vanir in Norse mythology. Like, there's two different sects of gods that ward amongst each other,
and it's said
right
that
down to Fenrirel, Fenrir. Like, there's a lot of the elven lore actually has inspirations from Norse mythology. Obviously, Fenrirel is analog to Fenrir and Loki both. But he's not exactly, like, I've heard a lot of people say he's just Loki. I'm like, he's not just Loki. Like, he is not.
No, he's not.
Dalish lore, though. That's not necessarily the.
That's true. That's not the true lore.
Yeah.
And we haven't really heard Solus talk about the Forgotten
We do
Ones.
get a story about the Forgotten Ones from Felasan, though, in the Masked Empire, where it's Anaris and Andriel fighting over Solus, and I hate and love that story. But so it does seem like they were powerful people, if they're literally having a fight over Fenrirel, like punishing for crimes against the Forgotten Ones. So yeah, I don't know. I'm excited. I want to know more. I have seen a scene that I need to do a TikTok about that was in the Crossroads, and there's actually spirits in the Crossroads that are actually there right now being like looked after. It's been a sanctuary for them currently, and I'm like so happy to see that, because it's immediately in the game you get into the Crossroads and you what Solus is fighting for, and I'm like,
They did the Mage gameplay trailer, and they're like, you can fast travel, or you can go through the Crossroads. I'm like, I am never fast traveling. I am always walking through the Crossroads. You think I'm gonna fast travel when I can look at all this lore? Especially since the Crossroads is where you find Solus's, the cutscenes of Solus's history. I'm like, why would anyone fast travel? Like,
I'm never gonna leave.
Maybe on multiple playthroughs.
I want to see the caretaker take me up on a little ferry. That's why I want to fast travel. Maybe he'll say something to me.
Let me on your boat.
I want to go talk to Solus's
I love him. I love him already. I know nothing about him. The only thing I'm sad about with the with the caretaker is that he's doing enchantment, because I was begging that it was going to be Sandal, but I'm still hoping that Sandal crops up somewhere.
Sandal, that's a question. So what the fuck do we think Sandal is? Because I kind of think he might be a Sharbertal who lost.
That's a possibility, definitely.
I have always thought, and will continue to think until I am proven otherwise, that he is both an old god baby and the vessel of a titan, like we see
Dagna. Or not Dagna,
Shaper
Volta. Volta.
Like we see Shaper Volta become. I think that he is an old god baby who connected with a titan and now has just a whole mess of voices in his brain and so much knowledge from so many different time periods.
He does have similar mannerisms to Kieran, now that I think about it. Him and Kieran Duff have similar mannerisms.
I didn't know if he might have been, like Flemeth is a vessel for Mythal, that he was a vessel for June or June.
I had seen that theory. I'm not sure how much weight I would put in it, just because they don't.
Not
seem
everything
super...
can be the Evanuris.
Yeah.
Well, that too, yes, but they just don't seem super interested in talking about some of the.
Well,
the
also,
other...
It's so annoying.
His little speech about the old lady is scary. Like, it's pretty clear.
That's Flemeth.
He's talking about Flemeth. Yeah, he's talking about
the
Mythal.
Flemeth knows something.
It's gotta be either he's
woman.
got something to do with the Titans or the Evanuris, one of the two. Like, that's
Yeah,
or
I didn't know
both.
if it was just Flemeth staring over his bed, just laughing at June.
Just, ha ha, you're stuck in a dwarf. Just leaves.
That's my Veilguard wish that no one else cares about. I want to know more about Jude because I feel like that's one of the more popular Valislines, and we're all just wandering around with this motherfucker's Valisline on her face.
And we know nothing about her.
They have an anvil, so I didn't know if they might have been a dwarf or something. Because the fact that they have this anvil
could have just been a forge
dwarves'
god.
connection to lyrium, I was just like,
Could have just been a forge god, or maybe a Evanuris who was sympathetic to the Titans, maybe.
Yeah, well, June's a god of craft, aren't they?
They're a god of craft, but they have got the anvil in front of them.
Yeah.
And they.
Well, I would assume that could fall under, like crafting.
June,
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And I think
June is the least elven sounding name in chat.
No.
I mean,
it's technically pronounced June, but
June.
No one
June
pronounces it
or
that
June.
way.
I never
no
did.
one ever did. It's like when names are written down for 3 games, and it's like.
I think Soleil's has indoor tasks like weaving and stuff for some reason. That's not under crafting, but I don't know.
That's just
right. I believe June's thing was someone taught the Dalish how to do something according to the story. I'm pretty sure it was
June. He taught him how to craft weapons and armor. I think.
Yeah, weapons and bows and things like that. But when you think about the Dalish, that you think of them. Having their little bows. You're not thinking of anything extreme. But again, we don't know.
Yeah,
because we don't know anything about this motherfucker.
Yeah, we don't know much about any of the Evanuris except for the big ones like Mythal, Gillenan, Elganon, and we know a little bit of Andril. Yeah, I want to know more about the Abyss. That's what I want to know more about.
The Void.
The Void, yeah, the Void.
Both.
Yeah,
the
to find out what those things are.
Listen, there's so many abysses, voids in RPGs that I'm just they'll jumble in my head. The void, the abyss, the chasm. They're all I get their names.
It's really interesting in the Death of the Titan mural because when you interact with that mural, it talks about Mythal having dwarves pretty much working for her, and she gives them dreams, and I'm like, because I'm guessing they needed them to work with Delirium. So she just pretty much takes over some dwarves. That's nice. She's the worst. But in that in the Death of the Titan, behind them is a bunch of red. So I didn't know if they were somehow stopping the void coming through, and maybe because it says that in their greed, the Evanuris are going to unleash something as part of that codex entry in the same one of Death of the Titan. So I didn't know if that's protecting them from the void, but I have no idea.
Speaking of red. So we know red lyrium is blighted lyrium at this point, and that means that there is a blighted titan somewhere out there. Yes. And Gillenan can control the blight. What if Gillenan can control the blighted titan?
It's not necessarily that there is a blighted titan. That there's all red lyrium seems to have come from the idol, so the idol was definitely tainted lyrium, but whether or not that comes from a blighted titan or not is still a theory. I
kind of hope it is, because I think that'd be cool. I think that would be so cool, a blighted titan.
I'm really hoping we see titans. I think it makes sense. I saw again another clip from the gameplay about Harding talking about a word that I've forgotten, and it talks about how the dwarves have forgotten so much, and she's saying about this word that all these dwarves have forgotten, and I'm like, so I think we're going to see a lot of Titan stuff. I think it's going to become a big thing, because I want a bunch of weird allies that Solus didn't consider, because I want to think of plans that he didn't think of, because Rook is just wacky and comes up with these cool things that Solus is too focused on his plan. So I want to pivot and do something weird, go and get a Titan to help us, or go and get the formless one from the spirits, because that's the only forbidden one we haven't had yet.
The word was
yes, that was the word. Thank you.
But my favorite Solus edit is one, and it might have been yours, Sarah, where it's Solus going, "I had plans," and then immediately panning to him saying, "I never said it was a good plan."
Could have been.
It's
well, he said that he's literally said that in game. He literally says that in game during when he's like when he was like, "You're in the fade before the fade kiss." Well, that's how I refer to it. You don't have to kiss him if you go there, but anyway, I do, skill issue. But like he goes like, he's like, yeah, I was about to run away and flee to do my studies to see what I could do with the breach, and then you couldn't go. Like, there was a hole in the sky. Where the fuck were you gonna go? And he was like, I said I had a plan. I said it was a good plan, and I'm like, sums up his character to a T.
I love it.
I love it.
Listen, I would kiss. I would kiss Solus in the fade. I would kiss him in the fade too if he would kiss Kunari men.
Yeah, I really do wish that they had made him bisexual.
They should have at least made him bisexual. I really disappoints
so
me. I'm not sold on the race thing. I think the romance would have needed a lot more work.
Yeah.
I do think there's a weird. It's just one thing because it's like, I do like the way Briar had done it up until now, where like certain characters had certain sexual preferences. Like Dorian, a big part of his character is he's gay. He's a homosexual man.
Yeah.
Like, and Sarah is a lesbian, and like, and then, but there's also the way that Veilguard's doing it and Baldur's Gate 3 did it, which is that every character is pansexual, and I think that's the best for the most part way to do it. But then we can't get characters like Dorian and have that scene with his father, which I want.
Did he say that everyone is pansexual? My understanding is that anyone could romance them. I don't know. Did they say that everyone is pansexual?
I think they're. I was referring more to Baldur's Gate 3 with the pansexual thing, but like in the Veilguard, they have said everyone is a player. They're player sexual is all we know at this point. Like they will romance.
I feel like I'm sorry. This is something that I went on a rant about in a private Discord server. I'm going to go on to it now. I really hate that term, player sexual. I get that in like Baldur's Gate 3. It's one of my, I think, the weaker points of the game. It's just a convoluted dating sim. I feel like I trust Veilguard to at least, just because you can romance any character as a player does not mean that I think like we can't explore. I think that was a big criticism. Oh, that means that we can't explore sexuality and things like that. I fully believe that we will still be able to explore what that looks like for different people within those characters. One thing I'm really excited about, like Tasha's character, I don't know, lots of people are theorizing about like Tasha's like gender and things like that, and being non-binary, because the voice actor I believe is non-binary as well, and the writers only refer to Tosh really using they them pronouns despite the fact being introduced, and like so that gives it like, oh, is that we're going to explore that? So I feel like think that like there is a way to have like player satisfaction and being able to like romance every single character, whoever you want, while also still being able to explore like these things about sexuality and gender. Like, yeah, so like this is just me being like, this is my public statement on this.
I don't disagree. Like, I understand why Baldur's Gate 3 did it the way they did.
Yeah.
But part of me that added to the replayability for me in Dragon Age Inquisition and Mass Effect 3 too. Like, I went through Mass Effect 3 a second time to romance Caden as a man because I was like, oh, that's cool, he's bi now. And I, like, or that he discovered he was bi. And it's like, it's not a thing. I'm glad Bioware's always really good about writing this, where it was like, when Caden tells you, it's not that he was like, oh, I've always been bi, you just never noticed. He's like, no, I've realized over time that I am bisexual. And it's like, he realizes about himself. And it's like, okay, that's really well done. And I like that in Inquisition that Dorian was gay. Like, and that certain characters... I'm not fully sold on the race restriction. For Solus, it makes sense, but like...
Some of them were due to time, so I think like Cullen was meant to be romanced by a dwarf as well. I don't know about Canary, but they just ran out of time because they did him last. But I think with Solus, especially because he falls for the spirit, like that's literally what he says. It's about your rare spirit. That it feels really weird that it's gender locked.
It really does, because like the way Solus talks to your Inquisitor, no matter what, if you have his respect, feels very romantic no matter what. Like he's like, yo, I dig you. And it's like, it's kind of like your Inquisitor's like, yeah, thanks, pal, and slaps him on the shoulder. It's like, I don't know.
I'm a big supporter of the theory of pining Solus theory, of that if Solus likes you, then he likes you. And I'm a big theorist about that. So I'm also on that camp of like, yeah, like he does have a fondness. I think it's only because Lavelin initiates it is the only reason why like it happens at all. But I fully believe that like Solus has a thing for the Inquisitor,
no matter what,
no matter what. If they like you, if he doesn't like you, fuck you forever.
Like,
but like
you can tell a little bit in Savannah Nights, like when he apologizes to the Inquisitor at the end of Savannah Nights, and you're like, you care, you always care, even if you don't like them.
It's
He still saves them, even if he hates them.
True. I will say, on the note of like the sexuality stuff, I do think it was a little bit of a bad call to make the most sexual character in game the only pansexual character with Iron Bull. Like, that definitely was, I feel like, because he's the most sexual character in the game, and he's the only one who's pan. I'm like, that's could read weird. Like,
Josephine.
Yeah.
Is Josephine
Josephine
pan? Oh, okay. I thought she was. I've never tried to romance her as a woman. Oh, that's just my fault for not knowing. My bad. But Bull is very explicitly like, I'll fuck everybody. That's part of.
Yeah. He's very open with that, whereas Josephine's a bit.
Which that's not a bad thing either. But like I remember they did get flack for that, for like making Bull the sexually promiscuous character and being pan. Like, people were a little bit like, that's a little. But I personally, I'm like, I like Bull a lot as a character. I don't agree with everything he says at all, but I like him as a character. Like, some of the times when he's talking to Dorian, like before they start, fucking, I'm like,
even while that's happening,
yeah,
I know. I'm sorry. Sorry to all the adorables in the chat. I hate that shit. I'm gonna be real.
Really?
I hate the way that Bull talks to Dorian in the romance. Like, why are you talking? Dorian's clearly uncomfortable with you talking about that. In front of everybody. Continues irregardless. Like, it just was like, it felt wildly uncomfortable. Like, what? Like, I don't like Dorian and Bull together at all. I love Bull. I really have issues with the way that he's written. Like, with Solus, there was all this angst about, like, not making him bisexual because you didn't want him to appear like a villain. Well, Bull has the potential to betray you as well. Yeah. And yet he's sexually promiscuous while he's also clearly coded to be a man of color. And he's sexed up, oiled up. Like, I, again, love Bull, but, like, the level, he's kind of just, like, thrown out there for everyone to just like salivate over. And I get it, but I'm like, you can make a character hot and interested in sex in a way that like doesn't make me feel gross as a person of color, because I know like he's supposed to be like he's supposed to be a man of color. Like, I know that.
I mean, to be fair, he is a person of color. Kunari are people of color. Like, it's like,
yeah, it's super weird.
Yeah, it is very weird.
It is.
I am not a big fan of Adorable either. I never really have been, and it's not just because of that. It's also because like they don't have a lot of chemistry. Like,
I prefer. I felt like if Bull was gonna get with anyone, it would have been interesting to see him and Cassandra.
That's interesting. I was gonna say Vivienne.
Oh, him and Vivienne.
I think him and Vivienne would have been.
Oh, that would be good, actually. Oh, him and Vivienne. She would dom the shit out of him.
Ship Dorian Bull with Cullen, that I ship him with Bull.
I love that.
Like,
Dorian and Cullen would be
organizations that they're like fight. Like they've already seen the flaws in the organizations that were against, so they seem as opposites when they come together. I am deep in the Cullen Dorian fanfiction.
See, because
like when they had that chess match, I was like,
there was so much sexual tension.
If you recruit Cole first, if you do the templates, there's a bit where you like falls on Cullen, and I'm like, I ship it so hard. Those two have my
Cullen and Dorian, 100%. I listen after that chess scene. I was like,
I was, and it's Dorian who convinces Cullen to stay for the CAG game as well. I'm like, I see. They got chemistry right away.
So in my Let's Play, I said, I was in the process, like, I was either going to romance Dorian or Cassandra with my character, and I ended up going for Cassandra because I was like, listen, I'm headcanon Dorian and Cullen getting together. So I kind of went out of my way to avoid the Adorable, because I wanted that to be my canon for my playthrough. It's like, wait, where's Cullen? With his boyfriend. They're playing, they're doing it doggy style, and then they're just playing fetch with the dog.
And I literally, like, the character growth for Cullen to become bi and go date Dorian would have been just, like, literally all he needed to complete his redemption arc, genuinely.
It's a shame, like, obviously taking everything but the voice actor aside, Cullen is one of my favorite characters, and Cullen is one of my favorite characters in the Inquisition, like, from a writing standpoint. I feel like he was well done. I think my least favorite is, honestly, I was disappointed with how Liliana was done in Inquisition. Like, she just seemed kind of there, and not
Yeah, I always
personality was
forget to talk to
entirely
her.
sussed out.
and not good at her job at all.
Like, girl,
She's-
3 for 3.
Yeah.
didn't know about Black. Didn't
Literally.
know about Blackwall. Especially, it's even funnier if my theory that Vivienne knew the whole time. That's even funnier that Vivienne knew and Liliana didn't. Like,
Yeah.
see, and Liliana is my one true, like, from Origins on. Like, I always romance Liliana if I'm playing a male warden in Origins. Like, she is my bae in that game. But in Inquisition, I'm like, the only times I like talking to her is when you talk to her about the warden, honestly. And she's like, yeah, we're still in love. We're going to end up back together. And I'm like, yay. But, like, and when she talks about Justinia, sometimes I feel for her. But, like, I don't like that she's hardened, even if you intentionally didn't harden her in Origins. Like, that kind of made me a little bit upset. Like, she was still soft.
It's been a long time since
I
Origins.
guess,
It's been through a
but,
lot
like,
of crap.
it's been like,
Good
But I
adopted.
normally-
There's a lot that happens in between those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I normally
true.
soften her and make her divine because I like to bring it back.
Yeah.
I personally like to soften and make her divine for, like, my personal canon. My Inquisitor, my last playthrough, very military-minded Kunari man. Even though he's romancing Cassandra, he made Cassandra divine, and it was like that moment of, like, I'm gonna lose my wife, but she's gonna be good at her job. I don't think she is. I don't
I
think
harden
she.
Liliana every time. I harden Liliana, make her divine every time.
Oh, nice. You just go full.
You
Yes,
just go.
I
I
want the
do
rivers
love
from the
Liliana in
flood.
the future. You know, in the future mission in Hush Whispers, like, Liliana then is the best that she is in the entire game. Right, that scene when she's just taking those shots, I'm like, this is Liliana. This is how she should have been in the entire game.
And she,
Yeah, I love that
the
scene.
fact that she's just shit talking Dorian in the banter that whole mission. It's
Yeah, I
like,
love it.
oh, also, I saw a thing about In Hush Whispers that today that made me think a little bit. It might have been one. I don't know. It was about how In Hush Whispers for the Inquisitor mirrors how Soulless viewed the
Yes.
world when he woke up, and
Yes.
when he said he was walking through a world full of tranquil. And I'm like, that line does kind of sting every time if you're friends with him, and he's like, it was like walking through a world full of tranquil. It's like, ow.
He does
like-
say that you
You changed his mind, yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
yeah.
when he woke up, that's what it felt like.
It's
like,
still-
oh,
it's
it's
still,
character
like-
growth.
It's character growth. Like,
When you've only really known like existence in the Fade or without the veil or whatever you want to call it, when you've only really known an intense and deep connection to magic, and that's how everybody was. Yeah, you're gonna think that these people are so deeply disconnected from this source of life, you know? Like it's not unreasonable or unheard of for him to be like, these people don't know what the hell is going on.
yeah.
Brian's touched on this stuff before, where it's like
Yeah.
judging the morality of an immortal being to our morality is also just weird. Like,
It's nonsensical at that point. Like the scope of like vision that Solus has is so different from us. And also just like on another thing, one of the things that we try to do like with like our movies and our TV shows and our books is when we go back in time to history, we're always trying to find ourselves there. When in reality, history is so much more alien than we could possibly imagine. Like all those things were like you know, Outlander, where we go back in time. It is so alien. Like like English, completely different. There's no way that you would be able to blend in unless you have like a very specific skill set, right? And I think people forget that because we're always trying to find ourselves in history. And yeah, we're there, but not really. Like, so imagine like going the other direction to like it is an alien planet that he's being put on, where people actively hate him. Like I think that's another thing.
He's
Like
an
it's one thing
elven
to be an
apostate.
alien. Yeah, like and he's an elven apostate, and then also the fact that like just like even in his history when he's like, okay, well, what do you think about? Hey, you guys heard of like Ben Harrell? What do you guys think about him? And everyone's like, no, fuck that guy. And if there are theories about like him being Shard 10 and things like that, like it, like you know,
I
any
also
place
forgot
where you
that.
might find him in history, he is hated. And his vision is like the vision of himself is twisted. Like this is a violence that has been done upon to him that he can't do anything about, despite being all powerful or whatever. This things like that. And I'm like,
Yeah.
it makes sense that he would wake up and he feels like he's like, "Ugh, what's
de-
happening?
I
like,
definitely
also-
I agree there. Yeah, he's Soulless wakes up and like you said, everyone hates him. Everything's different. Not just for being that, but also people who don't know he is Finro. He's an elven apostate. people look at him
Yeah.
and they're like,
Yep.
they discriminate against him for being an elf, and then he's an elven mage on top of that. Like, nobody is going to take him seriously at first.
No,
Yeah.
no,
He's
Falsland, so he's going to get dismissed by the Dalish.
Yeah, the
immediately.
Dalish are going to, and
Right.
like, he's very lucky Cassandra even listened to what he had to say, honestly.
Yeah.
She could have just killed him.
Another
tried to.
reason that
Tried
he gets
to.
a lot of hate is that he knows all of these things about Dalish
Mhm.
culture and about the real history and blah blah blah. And people are always talking about, well, why didn't you try and teach
Yeah.
them? And there's a whole line of dialogue that explains why he didn't do that.
No one calls Mithal out for the same thing. And
No,
it winds me up.
Flemeth has been
Every
wandering
today,
the
I
earth
had another
for
argument about it
literal
with someone.
centuries.
This
Yes.
is my wife.
They're
Also, this
just
is my
here.
girlfriend Remy. Says,
Hi.
and there's my daughter Eiley. Cameos.
Hello, daughter.
Can you say hi?
Hello.
What's your name? Eiley.
We can't hear.
Hi.
She said Eiley. That's her name's Eiley. Okay.
Beautiful.
Love you guys.
Aw.
They came
Bye.
to bring me cook. Bye bye. Oh, Yasha, get out of here. My dog Yasha is running around.
No, there are 3 cameos.
Yep.
And yeah, she is named after Yasha from Critical Role.
Real. Love
Yeah,
you.
but it's
But there's a whole line of dialogue where you can ask him, hey, why haven't you been trying to help these
Yep.
people if you know so much? And he says, I tried. They kicked me out.
Do you know what? You get another dialogue. If you've got low approval and you say to him, why aren't you helping the elves? You can actually get him to admit that, yeah, I'm wrong. I should actually be doing more.
Yes,
But if you say the same thing to Mithal, she just goes, you do not understand what you ask. So, what? What do I understand? Tell me, bitch.
Mythal is
Mithal.
Mythal is. I hate Mythal so fucking much for multiple reasons.
I'm
And
curious about Mythal. I don't hate her yet because
I don't hate
for
her.
me, I think for me it's like what has I love Solus. I'm hear him out, right? What about Mythal made
Yes.
the sacrifice worthy? I need to know what that is before I can condemn her.
it's funny
like, to my hate.
the dichotomy we have here of the soulless fan who is like, I'm gonna hear out soulless about Mythal, and the soulless fan is like, absolutely not, hate Mythal.
Well, my thing about Mythal is that she's been around for such a long time. And she's made sure that Solus is isolated. So the only friend that he has is her. And I don't trust her. Don't trust her
And
at
also,
all.
she says she nudges history when needed,
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
like, well, she could be responsible for every atrocity in Thedas' history, for all we know. She could have been the one who started the Blights, well, not like started the Blights, but like woke up, and she could have woke up some obviously we know the Architect woke up Euthemiel, the last Archdemon, but like, she could have woken up Archdemons when she thought that that humanity needed a push. She could have done a lot. She's not
No, I don't
specific.
think I don't
Because
think
the
that's-
comment in the chat, I don't hate Mythal. I freaking love the character. And I'm
Yeah.
so intrigued, but she's done so much.
Oh, I love the character from a writing standpoint. I think
Such a
she's
good character.
I think she's so interesting, but I don't approve of anything she has ever done that
No, I think
we know
fairly
of.
safe
That we
to
know
say-
of.
I think it's fairly safe to say that she did not start the Blights. And
I know, but it's like,
well, but specifically because through Flemeth, we get the dialogue of the Blight threatens all of us. You know, like, you gotta go stop this, or my hut might not be here when you get back. You know, like,
that could also be
she's
they didn't know where they were
just
going to go with it
scared.
in Origins.
No, I don't trust
I
that.
don't
I
buy that at all. I do not buy at all that they didn't know where they were going in Origins. There
Oh,
are
they
references
did.
to
100%.
Origins, there are references to the Evanoris. Flemeth is Mythal in that game. I don't buy it for a second.
In the Witch Hunt DLC, it literally says there's a break in the Fade, and it says the prison has been breached.
That's totally
Like,
fair.
they knew-
That's totally
They knew
fair.
I think they knew. Well, they said that they had 5 games planned from
Yes.
when they did
Yeah.
Origins. The
I-
stories,
Yeah,
the
I don't think that
details may
they're-
have changed.
Okay, I
But I
didn't know
think
that
the over.
I
action
actually didn't know all that. So that's like about like the background,
Yeah.
like the Velvet. So that
Hey, there's the Darkspawn making statues of Elganon.
I saw
Yeah.
that
From-
too.
from the
That's
statues of,
okay. Yeah, you're right. There are
They're running.
Elganon statues in Origins too. That makes sense from the
Well,
Darkspawn,
which
from the
Darkspawn
made by
made-
the Darkspawn. Yeah.
Yeah, which Darkspawn hear the calling, which are linked to the Archdemons, which are linked to the Evanuri. So that's why
Okay,
they're making those
speaking-
statues, because they can hear the call of the Evanuris.
Speaking of Origins, so one thing that we know, we like the thing I said earlier, Chantry gets everything wrong. So there's only one thing that's been like that a lot of people are pointing. Well, maybe the Chantry was right about one thing, and that's that Andraste's asses have healing powers. Now, obviously, there's the theories that I think Like, there's the theory that Andraste was either a vessel for Mythal or like a daughter of Mythal, but there's also the possibility that she was the bride of the Maker, but it wasn't the Maker she thought it was. Maybe she was in communion with one of the Evanuris. Like, maybe
She 100% was.
Maybe
She
it
had
was.
prophetic dreams.
It could have been
where-
Elgar'nan. It could have been Mythal or Elgar'nan.
I would
The
be willing to
other-
bet that it was Elgar'nan.
Elgar'nan.
Oh, well, that would be good if it was Elgar'nan.
Yeah.
When in
So-
doubt, blame Mythal. I need
So,
it.
for real. But in the World of Thetis, I think it's volume 1, I'm pretty sure. You get a little snippet about Andraste, and she has prophetic dreams. She speaks to a spirit. She has healing comas that she goes into, where she just, like, if she gets injured, she knocks out for a few days and, like, doesn't wake up. She had a sister that was a mage and, like, burned herself, I think is what happened, like burned down the building. But there are theories that, like, that was actually Andraste, and, like, the mage killed the regular sister or whatever. There's a whole bunch of random things. But specifically, the spirit that she talks to has a lot of allusions to the sun. And I don't think that we can really attribute that to anybody other than Elgar'nan.
There is
True.
one other theory, which is that she's an old god baby, because
That too,
Dumat
yes.
Could be.
Dumat is killed the same year as Andraste is born,
Born,
and
yeah,
all
yeah.
the other blights, it said which Grey Warden did the sacrifice, and with Dumat's,
That's
there's no
true.
record
We
None.
don't
of
know.
any Grey Warden that did it. So they could also be, and Kieran also has very similar, I don't want to say symptoms, but very
But
similar
yes.
things that he has with the voices in his head.
Yeah.
There's very similar stuff that Kieran was doing that Andraste was doing.
I
So
definitely want to know more
Old
about
God
the old gods in general, because they are the only male high dragons that we know of. They're all male,
Which is
canonical.
so weird to me.
Yeah.
I was literally just having this conversation. High dragons, the ones with wings, canonically, up until this point, are female. But also, so
Every
old gods-
archdemon was a male high dragon.
No,
the-
no, they're female.
They're-
They've
it was-
all been confirmed female.
They refer to Euthemiel as he in the Awakening expansion.
Archdemons,
That's gotta be wrong then, because
Ah.
like
Dumat is referred to as a man by Corypheus as well.
yeah, but
high
that's not
high
necessarily-
dragons are female. Old
Yeah.
gods are not dragons. Old
Right.
gods are spirits that take the
Okay.
form of dragons.
Right.
According to our
Like
law.
like
They're
like
not
Hakon.
natural.
So like
Yeah.
like Hakon, the male spirit possessing a female high dragon's body.
So it's not
It's
possessing;
essentially,
they
yeah.
take
Yeah.
the form of
Oh.
it. So because it's when so even the Servinters believe that the old gods are spirits that take the form of dragons. They're
Okay.
not straight up dragons, according to the
Mhm.
law.
Which
This might
Mythal
not be
being
true.
able to, or Flemeth, but Mythal and Flemeth together being able to turn into a dragon does lend credence to that.
Yeah.
Yes, and I do think it's Mithal's
Speaking-
daughter Yanva,
Yavanna.
who's bringing
Yavanna.
back dragons, but they're all female dragons. So
Yeah.
the dragons that are associated with Mythal are female. The old god dragons are male, which Elgar'nan, Mythal, everything's Mythal.
And in one of the trailers, we see the massive dragon that Fenrirel leaps towards. That's like 5 times the size
Elgar'nan,
of every other dragon.
yeah.
That's 100% Elgar'nan, like 100%.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that's just him shapeshifted. And I saw that
Well,
face
Mythal
flyer
can
about the
do
wolf.
it.
Did you like that wolf scene a little bit?
I cried when I saw
I
it. I had to take a moment.
Sorry.
I was like, he's doing his best.
I think that was one of my first like Dragon Age TikToks I made, was me being like, look at this, and it was just because I love dragons and I love wolves. Like that's like a big thing about me. Like obviously, clearly, I like dragons, and it was like big wolf jumping at big dragon. Ah! I was like, this is so cool.
I made a video about it. It made me really emotional about it, kind of like why I really love Solus as a character. He is my beloved. He is genuinely my favorite. All time. Just like one thing, like Solus to everybody else is like, someone made a comment about, this video will go out later today. Someone made a comment about like, oh, I don't really like how the games are always trying to make like Solus out to be like this big threat. Oh, he's scary, he's dangerous, blah blah blah. And I'm like, that dissonance that you feel with like what you're being told versus what you're seeing with Solus is intentional. Look, like I know like we see Solus is larger than life, but look how small he is next to this fuck ass dragon. Why are you hating on him? Turn towards the dragon and fight that thing.
amount of people who comment on my stuff saying, "Oh, well, we don't know that the Evanir are all that bad." Gillenay made an armor out of people's skin.
Yeah.
Elganar made a statue out of a mountain using thousands of slaves.
And
No. Those codex entries don't count. I got told once.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what?
Like-
the recordings of history from a real time. They go, what are you talking about?
I think also just like in the moment, like why would Solus lie about, like in the moment where you could get the Valasline removed, right? Like it's such an intimate moment. There really is no tactical advantage for him to tell you that in that moment. Why would he lie, right? Like why would he lie? And I think that's one of the things that I'm like, yeah, he fibs sometimes, but there's sometimes we're like, why would he lie about that?
So
And when there's
people.
evidence. When there's evidence to support what he's saying. Yeah, but yeah, that scene where he's wolf form jumping, cool, metal as hell. But also, my baby.
No, it's Cas.
Yep,
It's Cas.
you're
I
Please don't be
think
blinded.
I think
Get out from there
no,
right now.
I think
don't know where Finn.
if they kill him off, that's where they're gonna do it. Is he's gonna die fighting Elkarnon if they kill him off in game.
Even if they kill him off, he won't be dead. It takes. He even says himself. It takes a lot to kill the first of his kind. So even if he dies, I don't think he'll be dead. I'm gonna be delusional about this until the game's out. I've played it.
I think
He's not.
You're gonna be
Even if he dies, he says
was.
You're as delusional about this as I am about Varric making it to the end.
Yeah,
he's gonna make it to the end and be happy and write a book.
He does say that it's even if spirits die, it's not likely that they'll remember him. So I'm still, even if he does die, there's still a chance he might remember the villain.
His character was inspired by Doctor Who.
It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Until I play this game, I can't.
I don't want that
it's-
either, though. I want Solus or nothing. If he comes back, he's dead to me. I'm sorry. I don't mean it. I'm sorry. I don't mean the baby.
I don't mean it.
Delulu is the soul Lulu, isn't it, Chad?
I can't help it.
It's
God.
No, but
so
he's a later edition. He's not one of the first of his people.
yeah.
I mean,
So if he kicks it, he's
he's
probably is gonna kick
Well,
it.
spirits don't die.
but
I think if you can have an opportunity to make him like something like a Cole quest in which you can make him more spirit-like, but I think that ship has sailed given the grief that he feels with like the Cole quest.
Yeah.
About how Cole's like, yeah.
I don't think he would want
I'm not gonna write off.
I don't think it would either.
Yeah.
Sarah's just like, nope, you're not gonna convince me. I'm gonna just be.
I have to play this game and not cry
no,
every 5
genuinely, I
minutes.
need,
Like literally, because I've had a lot of grief recently that this character has been like in my real life. Like I can't deal with him dying.
No, after Ben Solo perished on screen, I went through a year of mourning. To this day, I will sometimes randomly burst out into tears. My friends are like, "Is it Ben Solo?" I'm like, "Yes." If Solus dies, I keep on saying that. I apologize for the person I will become for the next 2 years and on if something happens to him. I'm so with you. I'm so with you. With that, I understand what it's like to lose a character that means a lot to you.
This is like the
terrible.
first time. I'm really scared.
I will be there. I'll be there to support you. It's very. It won't happen.
Fandom, and I regret it with all my heart and soul.
I'm desensitized thanks to A Song of Ice and Fire. That nothing breaks me anymore. Nothing breaks me since Robb Stark.
Have you heard the poem that Weeks put in the book for the Masked Empire about the enduring love thing? So I'm just like, even if it's late, there's the spirits that kiss and make a form to give themselves lips and all that in this, like, it's called Birds of a Feather, it's in the Shattered Library, and I'm like, if there's something like that where they're at least like together in some way, I'll be fine. But yeah, I can't deal with it. I can't deal with it.
I'm sorry. I will push my Llewellyn off of a cliff if that means.
They have to die together though. Like,
Well, so,
he can't just
like,
die
that's-
alone. If he
well,
dies
that's that
alone,
theory.
I'm throwing the game out the window.
That's a theory someone had that like they're gonna have a Hawk and Alistair moment again, but with the Inquisitor and Solus, and I'm like, I feel like most people
They did that with Caden and Ashley back in 2008 with Mass Effect. They
Yeah.
did it with Dragon Age Inquisition. I'm hoping if it is a choice like that, it'll be a series of choices throughout the game that means the people there can change. Otherwise, it just becomes a bit repetitive.
I kind of hope it's similar like the Gorians and the Geth in Mass Effect 3, where like you have to make decisions throughout all 3 games to get the options to save both or save one or the other. Like, I hope it's more similar to that than it is just Caden and Ashley all over again, because
Yeah,
I mean,
we've done it.
Who picks Ashley? But anyway.
I do.
Yeah.
I vastly prefer Ashley over.
See, I like Caden better because
I keep Caden there for the drama with the
That's why I kick him out, because he's fucking weird. I know.
You might as well be talking about two cheerleaders right now. What game are you talking
Mass
about?
Effect. Mass Effect.
Okay.
Also, you know, Weeks wrote two of the characters in Mass Effect that have the most tragic endings, and I did a TikTok which was just me crying about them. Literally, that TikTok took me 10 minutes to film because I just kept stopping and having to cry.
Oh, what? Actually, a friend texted me a fun one. Little slight change of pace, but we've all played Baldur's Gate 3, obviously, and it's like, do you think if the characters from Baldur's Gate 3 were warped into Thedos that they would be happy or not? And I'm like, I feel like Halsin would just be a Dalish keeper somewhere. Halsin would go be a keeper. If they like,
I wouldn't want that for any of them.
No,
Yeah,
they're so much better off in Faerû.
Dalish keeper would just constantly be heartbreak all the time. He'd be miserable.
And
I think maybe Astarion would be fine. Like if he just
what would he do? What would he do? Like
he'd be into Vinter with the blood magic. He'd make it work.
Yeah.
Oh, Gale would either be a first enchanter somewhere, or he would be a magister in Tevinter. One of the two.
I don't, but that's Gale. I can't imagine Gale and Thetis. Leave him out of this.
Hey, at least Thanos is somewhere Mystra can't find him.
Is he bringing the orb with him, or does he get to leave that there?
He gets to leave the orb in the universe.
Oh my god, can you imagine Solus and Gale interacting while Gale has the orb and Solus is just like, why did you bring this to my world? I have enough problems.
Gale's like, me too!
So bad.
Yeah.
I want to put them in
I just want Gale and Anders to interact so Gale can constantly tell Anders how stupid he is. Just be like, you're an idiot. And he's like, no, I'm not. I'm a revolutionary. No, you're a moron.
I do think that if Gale and Anders were they wouldn't get along, one. But I do think Gale would end up being Anders-like. I can't imagine a world in which Gale would be in a mage.
I don't think he'd be. And if he was into Vinter, I feel like he would be a shadow dragon or something, like a freedom fighter, honestly, because he wouldn't put up with the shit they do. Then meanwhile, Will, what would Will fucking? Would he just he'd probably just go be a Grey Warden?
Will would be a Grey Warden. Will would be hanging around with the Grey Warden.
And if the race had,
he would though.
And if their race has to change, like Karlach would be a Kunari, but she'd be a Talvashoth. She wouldn't be in the. Lae'zel would be part of the Qun. Lae'zel would 100% be part of the Qun.
Yeah.
Oh, poor Shadowheart chilling in the Chantry.
Literally.
With that.
Literally.
Shadowheart just be like, blessed be Andraste. Oh my god.
Deal with the religious trauma with Leliana.
No, she'd just be Genevieve.
Shadowheart would be
bullshit. Oh god, yeah.
Well,
and then
Cassandra also has that crisis of faith for a second, but just for a second.
Maybe that should have been my answer. The character that I dislike, that everyone seems should have said. Cassandra.
See, I like Cassandra, but I understand why people don't like her. Like, I get it fully. Like, I have problems with her. Sister Patrice Shadowheart. Oh no.
Screaming. I think with Cassandra, right? She's intentionally written to be super charming. I think, especially if you get her to like you or be familiar with her. She's super charming. She's intentionally so. But I think it's grating, from a religious standpoint. I'm about to get nerdy with it, so bear with me. One of the reasons why I really dislike the Chantry, and also just the games, I feel like refusal to really interrogate the Chantry. We're never gonna know what's going on actually with the lore over there. I'm convinced that they're never gonna touch that.
That's one of the things I'm not going to.
Yeah, they're never gonna do that. But there's this really interesting book. I hope I don't get the title wrong. I think it's called The Religion of Whiteness. I believe it's what it's called. And it's basically how in America specifically, they talk about other places about how the church has sort of been twisted to revolve more around whiteness than actual Christian faith. And one of the tenets of the religious of whiteness is basically I don't remember the actual word for this, but the refusal to know, basically, of they don't want to really interrogate deeply the actual script scripture. They will avoid the truth to maintain their sense of identity. That is one of the tenets of the religious whiteness. And I think the chantry, and especially a character like Cassandra, who is presented to us as a white woman, who is super charming, like there's like in her own right. Like when you said like she has a crisis of faith for like 2 seconds, right? Like she doesn't like take the moment to like beat or reflect or try to change anything about the way that she views everyone else around her. Is like their religion is sort of being broken down into pieces and they have to reconcile with that. And I don't think any member of the chantry actually really has to have a moment like that. Like we think about the main people that are attached to the chantry, like in that they're all sort of like white presenting. Most of the people who are attached to chantry in the game, even though whiteness doesn't exist in the world of Thedas, we are visually seeing white people interact in a faith that is so has so much religious imagery to Christianity.
Mother Giselle. Mother Giselle is the only person of color I think we see in the chantry period.
Yes. Yeah, and I think it's significant that they chose to make Mother Giselle be the sister that has more liberal views and is a black woman visually to us. I think that is significant. We don't get that with anybody else. Everyone else is sort of like, that's a white person you're looking at, and you're like, well, whiteness. I know what I'm seeing with my own 2 eyes, and so she's acting in a way that's very like this white Christianity. That's hard to separate. For me personally, it's hard to separate.
And then there's that line of, there's no room amongst your gods for one more.
I wanted to knock her on her ass.
That's like, I'm Norse
pagan.
pagan, and like Christians have actually said that to me in the past, and I'm like, no.
It's when you get to the temple as well, Mythal, and she says about them doing this for all this nonsense, and you're like, you really haven't learned a single thing, have you?
Yeah,
this is like, I never think
she's not.
She stays back at Skyhold. You could stay there with your little.
Blackwall is really into it. He's like, this is really nice.
Blackwall's pretty.
There you go. That's one.
That's because Blackwall is just like, I have no fucking clue what's happening 90% of the time right now, but I'm gonna hit things with my sword.
Blackwall is a personality hire. I've talked about this before. Blackwall is there on vibes alone. Like I love him. He's so stupid. Like he could have just avoided getting caught if he didn't just be like, hey, no, like take me. I could hit stuff good.
Literally.
I rotate him and Cassandra whenever I need a sword and shield, because I can never make Iron Bull a sword and shield because it just feels wrong. But like,
play it easy and take whoever wants.
He's a barbarian. He's a barbarian at D&D.
He is a barbarian. Yeah.
Well, and that was one thing. Like, it's you're definitely right that there is a lot of whiteness to it, and like Cassandra has like people bitch at Sarah for things Cassandra does almost the same thing.
Yeah.
And then, but she's just not as mean about it as Sarah is. Like Sarah is like laughing at the elven and stuff.
Sarah almost is a bit more like neurodivergent coded though, with like the way that she comes across with what she's saying. Like I agree. I put Vivian on that ranking tier thing. Sarah, Cassandra, Vivian, we're all in a row because it was all people who, and Win, it was all the like chantry people who will just be chantry people.
Your video about Win was spot on. Like, why'd they write this 49-year-old woman like she's 85?
It's on the wiki. If you Google Win and look at the wiki, it's actually on the wiki that the writer for it said that she didn't know how to write an old person.
Which is so funny
because she saw a 49-year-old as a granny, and I'm like,
which is so funny because Cassandra's like maybe 8 years younger than that.
Oh, they got better. They got better.
Because Cassandra's like
52.
Yeah,
Logain's only 3 years older, so it's just misogyny. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, he's older than
people don't like it when you call out misogyny.
It is misogyny. If you had told me when I first played Origins that Win was younger than Logain, I would have called you a liar. It's like,
no, because they wrote her as a grandma, and because
she talks about her old bone, my old bones.
And yeah, if you reach half my age to Alistair, and you're like,
it's all there.
Oh,
it's like, well, I think isn't Alistair in Origins like 22 or something like that?
Like, yeah,
like
she's
22.
49.
He's almost half her age.
Yeah, exactly. It's just nonsense.
I think one of the issues that I have with Dragon Age, at least with the writing, is that I think there is not enough crosstalk between the writers when it comes to certain characters sometimes, because there's just dissonance between one character and the next. That really irks me. But sometimes I'm like, well, why did the Inquisitor treat this character like this, and then when they interact with this other character, they are being a dick about it or whatever. And it's really frustrating. And like they do talk about moments where they do talk about like when they were talking about like the Solus, why there was no Solus like romance scene, and it's directly linked to the Blackwall romance scene. Have you heard about this?
Yes. I know about that.
Really?
Of course I know about this.
So basically they cut it, like Solus was going to have a romance scene, but he was basically going to try to sneak out, and then the Inquisitor would be like, where the fuck are you going? And basically the Blackwall writer was talking to Trick, and then Blackwall successfully, leaves in the morning. And then Trick was like, well, how can the Dreadwolf, the trickster god, not get caught by his girlfriend, and Blackwall, Tom Rainier, could just sneak out no problem? Well, that doesn't even make sense. He's got armor and all that stuff. And so that was one of the reasons that the Solus romance scene got axed, because they were like, if there's no way that Blackwall could get away with it, and Solus wouldn't have been.
It's like Solus's little maybe 150-pound butt just like not sneaking away, and then Blackwall's 230-pound meat sack of a man can do it. Like, oh my god, there's someone would make the argument, oh, Blackwall just did it better, and she was, and it's like, I don't know if that's possible from Blackwall. I think the only person who would maybe be Solus got a lot more years to practice. And Blackwall probably would be. Iron Bull's definitely. It's canon. Bull's not. But that's. It's like in Baldur's Gate 3 when you find out Raphael is a 2-pump jump, and it's like, oh, poor boy.
Oh, I love that.
It's hilarious, especially because you could say it right before the fight too. It could be like, it'll be like, this will be over quicker than you last in bed. It's like,
that's crazy.
But
that's crazy to say in mid battle.
I mean, I think it's a bard only option, but it's like that fits. That honestly fits for a bard. But I'm excited to see where the Veilguard goes with the writing. Like, obviously every Dragon Age game has its good points and its bad points when it comes to writing. Like for example, Dragon Age Origins has well-written characters like Morgan and Zevran, and then it has Wynn and Oghren. And then the Dragon Age 2 is the only one I can't think of a weekly written character. Maybe Sebastian, but I think it's just because was DLC and didn't get as much time.
Yeah, probably. I think the problem is, right, I don't think Anders is a badly written character. I just wish he was written by someone who liked him.
Yeah.
Yeah, his writer does not like him.
I think Anders, in the context of the games, like, gets the short end of the stick a lot. Where I'm like, well, that's not completely fair. Like, I don't like Anders, right? But I can understand when, like, I'm like, oh, I wouldn't go that far. And I think, like, also with, like, the tone tags of, like, certain, like, dialogue options, like, when you, I don't know, we probably have this option, you click on something and then your character says something, you're like, whoa, that's not at all what I thought that dialogue option was gonna say.
That's really bad in Inquisition. I always struggle with that in Inquisition more. I'm like,
it's better in DA2 because every dialogue option has the emote, but also it's that same thing.
I will always be purple, 100%. Even when the Viscount's son's dead, I'm like, purple, don't care. Okay,
then I go with the nice, but I go. See, I actually, that's one thing that definitely changed in Dragon Age 2 a lot for me, was becoming a parent, and I related a lot more to Leandra and the Viscount whenever their children died. Like, I actually teared up a little whenever the Viscount was holding his child's dead body. I was like, I don't know. Like, I was like, it's like, no. It was like, I was like, nope, my Hawk's gonna be nice for once. He's not gonna be a dick to Dumar for the first time in his life, because Dumar deserves it, because he's a fucking idiot. Dumar is just incompetent in Dragon Age 2. That's my thing. Viscount Dumar is pretty incompetent. Like, he's just wants to keep the peace too much. And it's not even just he wants to keep the peace. It's that he does not want to do anything. He does not want to make anything worse. He does not want to make anything better. He is just trying to hold his shit together because he doesn't want to be there anymore. It's he didn't. No. And nobody ever wants to be Viscount of Kirkwall. Everyone who has the job hates it. So
yeah, that's why Varric's not there.
and if you side with the Templars, which I don't know why you would do that in Dragon Age 2, a Hawk becomes Viscount if they're not a mage, and then they immediately are like, "Nah, I don't want to do this." Like,
well, no,
I have never seen that. It's never happened.
Yeah, it's you become, and so, you know the scene where Cullen and all the Templars like back up, like back away from you after you beat Meredith.
Yeah.
If you side with them, they bow to you. And it's like the scene where Hawk's like, "Ah, yes, I aided in attempting to completely wipe out a oppressed group of people in my city. I'm a hero." And it's like, "No, you're not. Shut the fuck up, Hawk."
Yeah, there's some things I've never done. I've never signed with the Templars into. I haven't. I started doing the run where I was going to do it because I'm waiting to see Calpurnia because I thought she might be in Veilguard, and then I accidentally deleted that character, and it's like, well, anyway.
I've done it again. I've done it a couple of times. I've done it a couple of times in Inquisition. In Inquisition, it's not as bad because the Templars in Inquisition that you recruit are actually like the Templars who like legitimately are not like trying to be evil motherfuckers, but like they're Templars, so they got a little bit. Because I don't usually side with the Templars because ACAB includes Templars. all Templars are bastards.
Yes, they are.
I liked your video on that when you got to Cullen. You were like, "Oh, all cops."
Well, so many people didn't get the joke when I put Alistair at the end. He's Marik's bastard and has the Templar specialization. I've literally commented, because it's all engagement, so people keep coming at it, and I just keep explaining the joke to them, and I'm like, you keep engaging. This is on 20,000 views now. Good job.
Yeah, my goodness.
It's like, he's a bastard. That's the point. What are you doing? Have you played the game? Okay, never mind.
It's like I love it. I am also a little mad. There's a couple scenes with Alistair in Inquisition that I feel like they dropped the ball. Specifically with if he's any warden or king doesn't get to talk to his spoilers for the calling. Doesn't get to talk to his damn mom.
Yeah,
Rain doesn't know. He doesn't know.
I know he doesn't know, but she doesn't. But
she knows, doesn't she? Though, because she leaves.
Yeah, she does
dies. So it's her more than him. But yeah, it's frustrating that that's
what is she gonna do at that point? Like, hey, I'm your mom. Like,
but
actually, it does not seem like the right place.
I know. Well, like I mean more like if he's a warden and he's at Skyhold at the same time. Also, because you can have Morgan and Alistair at Skyhold at the same time.
Unless Kieran's there as well.
And you can have Kieran be, like, in my playthrough, Kieran was his kid. So it's like, there's cut dialogue. Like, I've heard the cut dialogue where he talks to Morgan about Kieran. And I'm like, why was this cut? Why didn't we get a moment of Alistair? He doesn't even talk to Kieran, but, like, at least talking to Morgan, asking about his kid. Because, let's be real, there is no bit of Alistair that would not at least ask Morgan about his son. Because Alistair's a good person for the most part.
Wait, that dialogue?
There's cut.
I've seen videos.
He does ask about.
He does. You have to interact. I never get to low because I always forget.
I've never gotten it. I've never gotten it to proc. I thought it was cut dialogue.
Like, I think you can get it to work, but I don't know.
Because I've never gotten it.
Some people have to mod it though. Some
people. Oh, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. In my last run at my warden romance Morrigan because I thought that might matter.
I play console exclusive, and like there is dialogue. That
oh god,
maybe
you have to go and answer them a couple of times though, so it depends how quickly you do the one.
If you do Wicked Eyes, Wicked Hearts first, and then the Grey Warden quest. I don't remember what it's called.
Oh, here lies the abyss. Yeah,
that one. You have to do Wicked Eyes, Wicked Hearts before Here Lies the Abyss, and then go talk to Morrigan a few times.
I think you've got to leave Skyhold, come back again. Leave Skyhold, come back again.
I guess I must have seen it in a video.
Probably just went.
That had cut dialogue, and then I've never gotten it to proc, even when I've done that order and had Alistair as a warden. So like maybe it just got cut.
There might be more dialogue that was cut. Because what we do get is very minimal.
It's basically just Morgan saying something like, "Oh, he knows his father was a good man. I thought you deserved that much."
Yeah, that's in the game.
Okay. Okay.
This is why we're only getting 3 options.
Yeah. No, genuinely, it's one of the reasons why I'm not super mad about it. Like,
I'm not mad about it.
I'm frustrated.
Yeah.
The only thing I'm slightly mad about is the well. because I thought that might and
well.
Kieran existing. I thought for Morrigan as a person and like the abuse that she suffered from her like parent and the fact she was so against that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she might just not mention it, which is fine. But for me, I just thought that.
I mean, to be fair, Kieran is an adult at this point. Would be off doing his own thing.
But it's
probably.
not about Kieran. It's how it would affect Morrigan.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
that
my
makes sense.
thing. I think that's
gotcha.
the thing that when Epla's like it wouldn't make a difference. I think that would make. I think
made a
becoming a
massive
mother to Morrigan.
It changes her
made a
character
massive
a
difference.
lot. Like she changes
really-
a lot
to me, it
becoming
really
a mom.
does.
Like she's very different if she has
She
Kieran.
just might not feel comfortable talking to Rook about it. So
I think for me, I've always been I love reading fan fictions where Mythal, the Well of Sorrows, that matters. I've always been the camp like I never thought it matters. As soon as they said, "Oh, we cut the original ending for Dragon Age Inquisition," I'm like, that's never the Well of Sorrows is never going to matter. But I'm like, I'm gonna let people theorize or whatever. Maybe it's gonna still matter somehow. But in my head, I'm like, I don't think after they cut it because specifically they cut the ending of Dragon Age Inquisition because it was too convoluted. And so I'm just like, so when they said that, I'm like, well, they're not gonna go back. They did have 10 years to figure it out, but I'm like, I think at that point they were like, whatever, fuck it, and threw it out. And I think when it got thrown out the first time, we were never coming back to it. I was always in that camp.
Good heel turn movement for Mythal in Veilguard, though. In my head, I was like psyched for my.
I do think they had good
that heel turn. I was like,
so many of our old TikToks theorizing about things are gonna have aged so bad.
I'll make up so many times.
But it's like I kind of wish they would have figured out a way to make the keep work because that's an easy way to get. But then making it work with the context of the Veilguard is
so many
tricky.
options that don't matter. Who cares if you sided with the werewolves or Dalish at this point? It doesn't matter.
It didn't even matter in Dragon Age 2. Dragon Age 2 has one scene where that happens.
One scene where it matters. So I'm like, Kieran existing, whether or not like Kieran exists from the Old God Soul, maybe could have made a difference from like a gameplay point of view, but it's not massive. Dragon Age 2 pretty much had nothing that to me really mattered going into the game. Because if Anders was going to crop up, he was going to crop up in Inquisition. He's not going to turn up now.
Oh, one note I want to have about Anders is I think it's funny where he talks about how he's going to start a revolution and that he's going to do it. And nobody ever calls him by name in Inquisition when they bring up the event. They just say, "Oh, a mage did it." And it's like you just made that worse, Anders, because they don't think Anders of the Grey Wardens did this or Anders of the Ferelden Circle did this. It's a mage did it.
Yeah,
like, that's
rocking up when we were about to meet the mage leaders and the mage rebel leader, like Fiona comes up. I'm like, where the fuck is Anders? Like this motherfucker should be here.
Yeah, and then
I think his character would be much more likable if he was there.
It's a shame that they did that. I kind of wish that they had him.
It's because Bioware. It's because the writers hate Anders so much, and like he was going to show up in Inquisition as a hermit living in the Western Approach, like hiding out, like dying.
That may be worse. I don't know.
Slowly dying.
Yeah.
But it's because Bioware hates Anders so much, and it's like they even write in like Varric's like, oh yeah, the mages let him tag along for a bit, but then they got pissed and started blaming him for everything, and they kicked him out. And it's like, but why?
You know, there was some cut DLC apparently about Anders, which was that you were going to run into Justice, and it was the spirit that got Anders to agree wasn't Justice from Awakening, and it was a different spirit. And apparently the writer said this, and it was cut, so it never happens. But apparently, that spirit isn't actually Justice from Awakening, which I think is hilarious that Anders fell for that. If that's the case. Because it was supposed to show how demons can be so like tricky in the Fade, and apparently that wasn't actually. But it got cut. It never happened.
Well, I can see why. Yeah, I think it got cut. It would make sense. I think it would go up against too much of what they're trying to establish about spirits and demons. If it would not make spirits and demons as sympathetic as I think they were trying to make them in Inquisition. I think that would have muddied the water too much. So I think it would have made Anders. It would have made Anders look better. I think it would have muddied the waters of like the story that they're trying to tell. I made a video about this a while back about how like I think Dragon Age, one of the major themes of it is like the cyclical nature of violence, and which is why though the decisions are fun to like implement in game, they don't actually matter that much. And so I feel like at sometimes there's like character things that get sacrificed for that. The story they're trying to tell about Thetis. I think that's one thing. I'm like, Thetis is the main character of Dragon Age. And sometimes there are characters who are going to get sacrificed on the altar. Anders was one of them. R.I.P. King. I'm sorry.
Well, it's like
Yeah, it's fun.
it's a lot of people are like, oh well, why did Anders not get the part, but Morgan did? Because Morgan's more integral to the plot overall than Anders is. Like, and Anders is not really important anymore. Like, everything that he started it's over now. Like, depending on your ending Inquisition, like like there's the no matter what you do, there's the Circle of Magi and there's the College of Enchanters now. There's the two different things, and it's like, so technically what Anders did, it did have good results at the end of things, but like,
but he didn't do it.
He didn't do it. All he did was, and that's all he really wanted. It was like, I wanted to light the match and start to play. It's like, yeah, but you chose the dumbest way to do it.
And like in a location that has almost no impact on the. You did it in Kirkwall? What?
Yeah.
Why did you choose Kirkwall? Like, go blow up the Ferelden Circle if you really like. If this is the thing that you think is gonna like shift the revolution, you chose the
nobody outside
hello,
of the
Varric. Welcome to the call.
Yeah. Nobody outside of the Free Marches.
Leave my city alone.
Nobody outside of the Free Marches gives a flying fuck about the Free Marches.
And nobody in the Free Marches gave a fuck. Kirkwall is the dumping ground for the Free Marches' worst people. Why did he think it was gonna mean anything?
Other than the people in the city, like it just like that's another thing. Someone was like, oh, I don't understand why Varric is sympathetic to Solus, but Anders is fucking Anders. I'm like, he blew up his sound. He's a New Yorker. I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly.
He caused chaos in his city that he has a like.
That's the problem.
Varric has a lot of patriotism for Kirkwall. Like, he's super like, he loves his home. Like, and
if it was anywhere else, I think Anders would have been. I mean, I think Varric would have been a little bit.
Why not nuke the Spire?
Gonna come up.
Like the Spire.
Yeah.
Or
I think Anders is going to get mentioned though in Veilguard. I think that is going to be part of Varric's story, and I think it's part of the reason that Varric is the one who is trying to stop Solus, because he could have maybe stopped Anders, and because he even says in the third act about Anders being different and noticing these things, and maybe.
But he just let him alone.
Yeah, so I think that's why it's because people are like, oh, I hope it's the Inquisitor instead of Varric, and I'm like, I don't, because I actually like it for Varric's story that Varric is there this time. He tries to stop it.
The Inquisitor, so we know they're going to show up. We know they're going to show up, and the Inquisitor, I do think, does need to appear to some regard, just because it would make no sense if the Inquisitor just wasn't in the story at all, because like they're the one who kickstarted this whole thing, like hunting, like trying to stop Solus. But like,
I think Epla said that they made a promise to the players at the end of Trespasser that you make this choice of whether to redeem or to stop Solus, and they owe the players a conclusion, a satisfying conclusion.
Do we think we're gonna get to play as the Inquisitor? Maybe not in like a combat.
No, they said no already.
Oh, they did. Damn it.
Yeah.
I was hoping like
we're gonna get. If you want him to be nice, if you want your Inquisitor to be nice to Solus, pick that you want to save him. If you want him to be mean to Solus, pick that you want to kill him. If you want him to, and if you want to romance him. That's it. But you'll get like 4 variations based on if you're nice and you romanced, you're mean and you didn't romance, and then vice versa. I think that'll be it.
It's
another one of my issues with some of the characterization that Solus gets comes down to that decision that you can make in Trespasser, right? Because if the game is going to give you this option of whether or not you can redeem or condemn his actions, that means something, and obviously it means something because we've been given, this is one of the decisions that matters. But people see that they take the fact that you have this option and that redeeming him is a viable option, and then they still refuse to look at any of the redeeming qualities that Solus has.
Yeah,
like I just don't understand the intense refusal to acknowledge that he is a gray character.
I feel like a lot of people that hate on Solus and like target him a lot also do the same thing with Anders, and they kind of inflate them as being similar characters when they're not at all. I've seen a lot of that. A lot of people who hate Solus also really hate Anders, and it's like cool.
Oh yeah, I get told I'm a hypocrite all the time for not liking Anders and loving Solus.
Yeah,
like,
I
have these characters, so I'm not going to talk to you.
I don't hate either of them, but I definitely like Solus a lot more than I do Anders. Like, 'cause Solus, frankly, is just a better written character.
I don't like how Anders is written, but I don't hate him. He serves his purpose as what he's supposed to do. But
he's a total hypocrite. He's a total hypocrite.
He's a narrative device. He's a narrative device.
The emotional blackmail
he's
that he
also
puts through when you
super
romance
racist.
him will always... The emotional blackmail is when you romance him.
Yeah,
Like, this makes me so... But yeah, he is just racist.
I did a romance of Anders for the first time in my playthrough for YouTube, and I was like, this feels very like, but babe, if you don't help me with this, you don't love me. And it's like,
and I do fully understand what the purpose behind that was, and it's twofold. One was the mental illness aspect, which, again, if he would have been written by somebody who liked him, it could have been done well. But also the fact that he was being actively corrupted by a spirit. Like, I get it. Why didn't you make it more clear? Why were there not more cues that this is what was happening? Because Anders in Awakening is not this character. He's just not. And Anders in 2,
they were trying to differentiate him from Alistair because he has a lot of similar personality traits to Alistair in Awakening, and
and the spirit of justice and his being are actively corrupting each other. So I mean, like, I get that that's why he's doing some of these really shitty things. I just think it could have been done in a far better way.
Yeah. It's like Sarah. Like, Sarah had to... There's always a character like that that's like, you were so close to being really interested, and it's like, but no. But yeah, Big Mama Pikachu, he approves if you give 10 respect to slavery.
Yeah!
What?
I've never known that, but I looked up a video of, like, worst options you can make in Dragon Age 2, and I saw the Anders friendship after selling Fen respect to slavery, and I was like,
you can't really.
What?
I think also just from so my degree is in English, but my focus was in science fiction and fantasy in Africana studies specifically, and I feel like a lot of those things are more so issues with the genre than actual character. So I give a lot of the characters grace in Dragon Age for like the racism that they've sort of been thrust upon them, because it doesn't necessarily make sense. I feel like a lot of white writers feel like it's needed to put racism in games as like a sticking point, and they feel this need to give characters racist ideologies in a way to reflect the real world. But the thing is, a lot of white people don't know how racism functions. So oftentimes the way that racism appears in fantasy stories doesn't make sense in a way, because white people often, because like black people have an understanding of racism, people of color understand racism, because we're looking up at it, we can like look at it, understand it, but like a lot of white people just like racism bad, and like they don't. So when they want to paint a character poorly, they just thrust racism upon them to sort of like as like a shorthand for this person bad, instead of adding the nuances of like why a person would have racist ideologies, and that is not a moral indictment of them. That is basically you live in a society basically at that point. So like Anders being racist does not alarm me. It makes sense given the fact of his upbringing. Why would he not be racist? Like, and there's no point in
especially raised in Ferelden. He was raised in the Circle Tower in Ferelden, and Ferelden's very racist towards elves.
Exactly, and so
Circle
like what
isn't though, right? The circle I thought for elves was meant to be like
They say that.
I don't know, because this is the thing that really bugged me in Origins, is that I wanted more racism against my circle elf mage, because it feels like you don't see it when you play an elf mage that you don't.
I think that was a limitation of the game, like writing in different origins. Like even if you were playing an elf mage, they focused on the mage part and not as much the elf part, especially in the circle. Versus if you were a city elf or a Dalek elf.
The city elf was like horrific. Yeah.
And I think as the function of like the time that it came out, like the concept of intersectionality being like a mainstream concept was not there. Like we were just not there in terms of like the cultural zeitgeist of our understanding of racism and oppression. So they're going to view these oppressions as differently. There's not going to be the intersectionality of what it means to be both mage and elf is not something that the writers were at all equipped to write. And I'm kind of glad that
Yeah, I'm glad they wouldn't have been able to do it well.
Yeah.
But then you get things like Zootopia, where like the predators are experiencing the racism, but like they're predators. There's a reason.
They would be they're the big powerful ones that like it's like it makes sense in the context of Zootopia, but it's not a good reflection of like real world.
Yeah,
it's not a good
it's
allegory.
not a good allegory.
It's not a good allegory. No. Speaking of we were talking about Anders Kirkwall. Have we all seen Dragon Ball Absolution? Or Dragon Age Absolution?
I stopped.
Dragon Age.
Sorry.
I know what you meant. It's funny. It's funny. My best friend calls Dragon Age Dragon Veil. I was like, we can play Dragon Veil, and I'm like, I love you.
I was looking at a post from the Dragon Ball group for a second, and then my brain just. I've been doing that a lot lately. Like, I'll say Dragon Ball, and I'll mean Dragon Age, and I'm like, because my girlfriend will get confused. She's like, wait, you said Soulless, but you said Dragon Ball, and I'm like, sorry.
Listen, Dragon Ball Z. Hell yeah,
Soulless?
I'd watch it.
Being a Hell of a Boss fan and liking Dragon Age is a pain because you have Stolas from Hell of a Boss and Soulless. I'm obsessed with both of them, and it's like I'll constantly say the wrong name. Constantly.
Funny.
Soulless shows up in Dragon Ball, and Goku's like, "You look kind of strong. Want to fight?" Soulless, sure, dies.
No. He'd be like, "No, I have no. I don't.
I don't want to fight at all. Actually, I have better things to do."
Can I just chill here? I'm actually not strong. I am the weakest of my kind. Goodbye.
Yeah, that's true. Goku would be like, "Oh man, hey, I'll see you later." Soulless would just be like, "How do I get out of this hellscape where planet keeps blowing up?" But in Dragon Age Absolution, there's not a lot that like plays into much of like the big lore stuff, except for like apparently Dorian's family made a fucking circlet that can bring people back from the dead once upon a time, like because from Dorian's family.
And I mean the reveal of Meredith and the reveal.
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Like the Meredith still being alive. Do we think that's gonna play into that's gonna have any
comics? Isn't it? I don't know how they wrapped it up in the comics because that's when Absolution then carries on in comics. So Meredith's in those.
It does.
Yeah. Meredith's in the comics. I'm sure she is. Someone correct me.
I would have rather it had been the season 2 of the show.
I don't want Meredith and Veilguard. I'm hoping not.
I'm kind of tired of. Honestly, I was tired of Meredith halfway through Dragon Age 2. I hate Meredith so much.
Tired of Templars.
What comic line is that? Because
I
want to find out because like.
I've got it on my shelf. I haven't read any of them.
We have the technology.
I'm
just gonna look it up.
Meredith, Dragon Age.
Well, that was
90% sure.
So that's one thing that I like when playing my Inquisition playthrough. Like I was like, oh, this isn't gonna matter in the Veilguard, but it'd be cool if it did. Is like, my Inquisitor sent what's his name?
Might be wrong.
Templar guy, Samson, to Kirkwall to face punishment, and then I realized I just finished watching Absolution. I was like. I sent him where Red Templar Meredith is. I was like,
oh, she's in Knight Errant comic, but that's before thingy, so I just got confused.
Oh, so we could get some kind of
timeline. I don't think we will, though.
I think we'll get a season 2 of the show, if anything. Like,
I don't think so.
Yeah,
and nor do I want it. Keep that shit away from me. I'm sorry.
The show on Meredith.
The show.
I didn't mind it.
I hated it.
I didn't mind
it.
Tell me why.
That's why I don't talk about it.
Why?
It was fine.
I think that it was such a bad. Because so many people are like, I'm gonna watch the show to get into Dragon Age because it'll be like such a bad introduction to.
It's not a good introduction.
It's not a good introduction, and then they put all the worst parts of Thetis into a disgusting soup and handed it over to us with the characters that are caricatures of themselves from the jump. Yep. And then what is up with why can we not have a sapphic couple that's normal in this franchise? What the fuck was that?
Yeah, that was bad. Hey, at least we got our 2 big burly men that are going to be a couple now. That I like. The romance between
and we got a Lord of Fortune.
Yeah, a Lord of Fortune. I liked the human warrior and the dwarf warrior ending up as a couple at the end. I was like, okay, let the big burly. Because I am kind of tired of seeing like gay relationships in media that are just 2 small, tiny guys. Because that's the caricature of what people assume gay men look like. Is they think they look like small, little, tiny, like feminine men, which is not. Which there are a lot, but that is not the only type of gay man. Exhibit fucking A. It's So I kind of liked that they were both big beefy dudes.
Yeah.
It was kind of.
I like that. I like the okay. Like it's kind of like I'm always like there's no such thing as a bad plot point, an inherently bad plot point. It's how you bring me there. I'm always I go into stories with curiosity, right? So those character concepts, like it just felt the whole thing just felt undercooked. I think that's my like the concepts there. I was like, okay. We can work with this. That's nothing inherently. I think the same in my same issues with Vows and Vengeance, the podcast. Not as much as Absolution, but a lot of those things feel undercooked to the point where like the writers have come like, actually, we know they fucked up that lore thing. Ignore that. Like Absolution, they didn't really fuck up that badly with lore or anything like that. But like again, it just felt undercooked. Like it did not feel like Dragon Age to me. Like it didn't feel like Dragon Age. It felt misplaced. It felt like it belonged closer to like Vox Machina.
That's what I was gonna say. It felt
animation.
It felt it was the exact same animation style as Vox Machina, and they basically had caricature of Vex for the main character and Keyleth, tall Keyleth for the Kunari mage. And like they made Gilmore a hot buff guy for the human warrior, the Orlesian warrior, but like
I mean, Matt Mercer's in it.
Matt Mercer is in it, which was wild because I forgot, and then I was like, wait, why don't I know if I was like, oh right, he's that random dude in Inquisition in the Emerald Grey that like gives you mission. And I went back and I was like, it's not Matt Mercer, is it? And I was like, you're not Fairbanks now.
Yeah, no.
But I didn't mind this.
I love the headcanon that because it's Mercer who's doing Manfred in Veilguard, and I just like that it's Fairbanks' skeleton that's the thing. And I'm like, well, Dorian said that he wanted to go to the Grand Necropolis. I'm like, why didn't he just take them? You don't know he didn't take Fairbanks there. Why not? So I'm like, that's my headcanon. No one can take that away from me.
What characters do you think we're gonna see in the Veilguard from previous games? Dorian. I think Dorian too. Who is your biggest hope that's probably not gonna happen?
Fenris.
Mine's either Fenris or Zevran because we have the crows involved, but I don't think we're gonna.
I don't think Zevran showed up.
I don't think he is either. Because
Zevran was really high for me, but when I believed the lie that Morrigan wasn't back, I was like, well, if Morrigan's not going to be in it, they have to bring someone back from Origins, so it'll be Zevran. It was like, okay, never mind, I'm wrong. Always wrong.
Do not recognize that man when they asked, like, who's this? And the writers like,
exactly. That upset me.
And then they couldn't even characterize him correctly. We are not seeing that man.
Being an assassin, being a red flag, and I'm like, Lucanus is in this current game. What are you talking about?
Right?
Like,
and I also think that like Zevran would not want to be anywhere near the crows. The only person that like when someone says, "Oh, maybe Zevran is attempting to become king of Antiva." Someone's like, "Oh, maybe he's trying to be king of Antiva." I'm like, "Okay, I'd want to see him, but I'll sit here and, especially given the dialogue about what he says about people who want to become the king of Antiva are seen as very brave and very stupid. I was like, I'll bite, but I was like, I doubt that we're gonna see him.
I don't think we're gonna see him. He's the one that I want, but we're not gonna get. I could maybe I don't think we're gonna get Fenris, but I think it's more likely we'd get him than Zevran just because of Tevinter and mages in Magic Go Crazy, and Fenris would be like, I don't like. I think if we go to Parvalin, we will see Sten. Sorry, the Aeroshock, because Sten is the Aeroshock now. So
they are like invading Antiva currently. So maybe he's like on holiday in Antiva and he'll just crop up with Josephine in the corner. I also do want Isabella. As the only reason I'm playing a Lord of Fortune is that there's a chance we'll see Isabella.
I can almost guarantee you that Isabella will be in the game. She was part of the Inquisition multiplayer, which was very obviously a setup for the next game and next classes. I actually really hope they implement some of the classes they used in the multiplayer because they're all pretty cool. Isabella is canonically working with the Inquisition by the end of Trespasser, so I think it would be really, 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 really bad writing if they didn't bring her back.
She has a boat. She's Admiral. She has a big hat.
She has her big hat.
I want to see a big hat.
Yeah.
I think we're going across the sea for the next game, so I think we are going to be dealing with both.
I think we'll see Isabella. I think we're definitely, obviously we're going to see Sola. I think we're going to see Dorian, but there's some characters who are like maybes, like Sten and Fenris, and we're definitely not going to see Anders because he's going to die, because they're either going to, I think what they're going to do is they're going to mention him and they're going to either say, he died at Kirkwall, or they're gonna be like, oh, he's dead, and they're gonna be like, even if you didn't kill him, he died in the time in the interim. Like, it's like.
The only way I can see Anders getting mentioned is some Magister making some throwaway comment about, like, it's like an insult to Ferelden. I just can't see any mention of Anders in any feasible way. I'm sorry, Anders fans. That doesn't make sense.
I don't genuinely believe that we're going to see too many of the previous.
I don't think so either.
I think there'll be a bunch of cameos of people into Winter Nights. I think that's almost the point of that book.
Yeah, I think a part of me is like, I think maybe you'll see like past companions if you romance them. Basically, the option to what do you choose? Like, who did you romance? I think that they might show up like a little bit. Just out of like
when they show up.
Yeah, that basically that. Before they go off and split ways and like stay safe before running off and like well, we're so deep into spoilers, but like that went like the siege on Wysop when they're like, we don't have enough men to deal with this. I'm pretty sure the Inquisitor's gonna show up then. I'm pretty sure the Inquisitor's gonna show up then with whoever they're romancing in that moment.
I think it's at least a little bit likely that we see the advisors, that we see Liliana, Josephine, or Cullen.
Yeah,
I think it's fairly likely.
I don't know if we'll see Liliana or Cassandra, just because either of them could be divine.
And also, doesn't Cullen retire or become a crackhead? I don't think we're
not going to be back in this game.
I don't think we're
I don't think Blackwall's going to be back in this game, in my opinion. I think it's going to be really hard to make sense of that.
Maybe Bowl. Because he's busy. Because he is actively fighting.
He also can be.
He is
dead.
He is actively. Well, Liliana could have died in Origins too, and she should have. So like they've gotten around writing for dead characters more, but Bull is actively, if he survived, if he's leading the Chargers, he's actively into Vinter, like fighting.
He's at the border, isn't he?
He's at the border.
The thing is that he meets Dorian at the border for kissing.
Right? He's at the border, like fighting against Tevinter Magisters, basically, and.
Well, not really, though. The only mention that we get of that is that he went to go rescue Dorian.
That's
and then
true. Oh no, it's the Venatori he's fighting.
Also,
sorry, the Venatori.
I think Freddie Prince burnt a bunch of bridges, so I don't think he's gonna be back. Unless it's a recast, so I can't see him being back. Same with Craig Ellis. Craig Ellis will not be back in this game.
Yeah, no. Cullen, if Cullen does appear,
and as voice actor, I want to do Cullen if he turns up and it's like a nice circle.
that would be kind of funny if.
Also, I want like that voice actor to get.
Cullen comes.
This is why I said that I'll see. Like maybe they'll show up in the battle. I'm like, see you at the end of it. the romance person just fucks up in the no dialogue.
Yep.
It's
just them.
Whoa.
In generic armor, so we don't have to confuse with
Josephine's running off into battle.
Josephine's got a great sword, just like
I
got this.
Or she's just like
no, I think Josephine's just gonna be in it though, because we're in that team. It'd be really rude to not go pop in and see if she's okay. I was hoping Shale was gonna be in it, but the voice actor died in 2021, so I'm really hoping there's some kind of memorial or something in Vice Out. I think that'd be really sweet.
What if we see a memorial to Shale and it's just Shale as a statue again?
I mean, pretty much. Yeah.
Oh my god, worst case scenario.
That's the worst.
Screaming from the fade. I actually have to go. I have another interview in an hour that I need to get ready for. I didn't realize we had been talking for 2 hours.
Yeah,
we have been talking for 2 hours.
It's what happens when Dragon Age, when we just start rambling about Dragon Age.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me, y'all, and I hope the rest of the chat goes well.
See you later, buddy.
Bye.
All right. Wow, cameras reposition faces for what left we have on here, because Konn left, and now Sarah is in 5 places.
Oh yeah, I'm across 2 screens.
Yeah, so get out of here. And
yeah, I think I don't know. I've got a feeling that they might just say that Fenris is immortal. I think there's there's a hint somewhere that Fenris might be immortal because of what will happen to him. So maybe we'll see him and they'll just canonize that, and he's just fine. Don't worry about it. Yeah. But I also worry that Fenris is going to turn up being controlled by one of the Evanerists.
Oh, that would be the worst fate for him imaginable.
That would
Being
be awful.
controlled by
We save him and he's fine. We save him and he's fine, and then he helps.
Fenris,
No,
Fenris being possessed by an ancient elven
there's
mage god.
That sarcophagus thing that he's used is it's all over the place with the elven ruins, including Fenrirel's Sanctuary and Trespasser, and it looks the same as what the thing is that. So there's something about slaves being used in that thing that does something. So I'm like. I
hope we get to see more of.
If you want to be really sad, look up Red Lyrium Fenris fan art, and you'll just get really depressed. Same with Cullen. Cullen as well. That's a good one.
I don't
just depress yourself.
But I want to see more of the. I mean, we already know pretty much not everything about the Qun, but we know so much about the Qun and how they operate. But I want to see more about Talvashoth culture. Like a little bit more, because there are Talvashoth who were part of the Qun. That's one thing about the Inquisitor that was a little bit like they could have done more with the Qunari Inquisitor to make them feel more like an actual Talvashoth and not just a giant human with horns. Because your Inquisitor does not know anything about the Qun, but they were. But a lot of people they point out that is the reason. But I am sitting here like that doesn't make sense though when both of his parents left the Qun.
Oh yeah, well they didn't make the racial choice matter in Inquisition for dwarves or for Qunari really.
Yeah,
it matters a little bit more for elves, but that just wasn't implemented well. I'm hoping they do more with that, with like the backgrounds. I'm hoping we have a specific quest or something to give us people that our character cares about in this world. So I'm hoping there are, even if it's not like, like Origins had your origin, I'm hoping instead we have something halfway through the game when you get to Ravane that you're helping the Lord of Fortune people that are your specific friends, because you should have ties to this world. That was my problem with Inquisition, was you didn't really have a tie to your world. Okay, you helped Clan Lavelle in a codex entry.
That should have been an actual mission.
Well,
I stand by that.
And there's one with Qunari, the Valokos mercenaries too, where they straight up.
I love those. They're so cute.
Hearing Chakratar, I like read these out and I'm like, I think Chakratar is my favorite NPC, and they're not. We never see them. I want to see more of Chakratar, but then it's canon that Chakratar works for Cullen like directly, and if you keep the Inquisition intact at the end of Trespasser, like Cullen, like Cullen's leading the Inquisition forces still, and he says. Reporting directly to him is his first lieutenant Chakratar, who gives him no end of grief. And I'm like, oh, poor Cullen. He has to just deal with Chakratar constantly being like, Humie's doing weird thing. And Cullen's like, give me 5 seconds, man. But like, I just want to see, because we have like, obviously concept art of Qunari culture and civilization and like architecture and stuff. But I want to go. I want to go to Parvalin and Saharon and see all this cool stuff. I don't want to be part of the Qun because, then you don't have any freedoms. But I don't want to...
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing with the Canary stuff. The only places I know is Ravane, Antiva, and...
Well, I know the Antam is one of the main...
Yeah, the Antam we've seen stuff of look different.
Yeah, and it's like...
I'm really worried about the Canary. I'm really worried that they're going to make the Canary that they're some kind of experiment done by Gil, and then they just turn into like war drones for Elganon. That's what I'm really concerned about, and I hope they don't do that. I think it'd suck, but I can see them
I don't want that at all.
like that.
Well, and like you get lines from like Corypheus, like your blood is not your own, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, and when you talk to Bull about the Kossith, the people they came from, like, and a lot of people have started calling Kossith the race for Qunari, and I'm like, Bull specifically states that they don't use the word for the race, and that the Kossith probably don't look anything like them. My personal theory is that the Kossith are just elves who made the Qunari by mixing their own people with dragon blood. And that's why the Qunari are so big and have horns, and because they still have elf ears. Like, Qunari have elf ears, and it's like, aside from Sten, Qunari have elf ears, because like they all have pointed ears. At least I don't remember if they do in Dragon Age 2, but they do in Inquisition.
They were some Gil experiment that Gil experimented on our people originally, and obviously they become more than that. But yeah,
I have obviously, like, I think. When it comes to, I want to know more about the other 5, because I think the architect is just like Corypheus. He's one of the like mages who went into the Golden City, the Black City.
Griffiths and yeah.
I want to know about the other
I want the architect back. I don't think the architect's dead. I think he can jump into Darkspawn.
Well, yeah, because if he is one of them, he's just like Griffith, and he would have jumped into any bot. You were in the Deep Roads when you killed him. There was bodies for him to possess everywhere.
You're Grey Warden.
Oh God! If the architect shows up and says, "Oh yeah, I
That's
possess
what one of my friends in the server has got for their like warden is that they became the architects. Right? That's a great headcanon. It's awful.
I don't want. What was I gonna say? I want to know more about the other 5 of them though, and.
I'm wondering if we'll get something, even if it's like a codex entry of like, because we do find out the family that Corypheus came from, so they must be able to find out the families of the others. So there might be something like a codex entry into in there. I don't think they'll appear, but we might be able to find out more information. Which
and I think we've talked about this before. Like my theory of that when the 7 Magisters went into the Black City, it was never golden. It was always black. Like Corypheus says, it was always black. I don't think they encountered the Maker. I think they encountered Gil, and she turned them into Darkspawn and went, "Okay, get out of here," and threw them back out, or Elgarnot, or Andril maybe, or.
So I've done multiple videos on this. Sorry, I'm just going to info dump. So the Golden City is Alathan, which, in my opinion, this isn't proven. It's pretty sure though, which as Solus describes it, kind of is a golden city in a way. It was a city that's very advanced, and he had to put part of that up in the Fade, which is part of the prison, and that gets locked up. But Corypheus says that it is empty. There was no one there, but I do think it was blighted, and that's why they get blighted and they come back. I don't know if they actually encountered any of the Evanuris, because when you look at the prison drawings that he does, they're like layers. So I think that they pierced through the veil and got through one of the layers into the thing, and they breached containment of the blight, got blighted themselves and came back. But you actually see cracks on one of the promo arts of where it shows the veil as like this big circle tambourine thing. There's actually cracks in the corner of it, and I think that's where the Magisters peered through. And in the Fade, where they've got all the red lyrium, there's the claws of Dumat, which were apparently what we used in that ritual to pierce through the veil. So I think they definitely came across a blighted Alathan because Gil just set it off to.
That makes sense.
But that's what I think. So, but again, it's like Chantry lore is really close. There was this golden city that ended up being blighted. The Magisters pierced the veil and released this thing. There just isn't a dude called the Maker.
And if there is someone that's the Maker that they worship, it's Elgarnot. That's bad if it is. Like, because he's no good. He and Mythal and all especially him and Mythal, no good.
We're okay talking spoilers, aren't we?
Yeah.
Because it does say that Gil started using blight magic because of Solus's rebellion, is what he says in the Fade to Rook. So it's like everything is just Solus's fault. Excellent. Another thing. Why can't anything just not be his fault? It's not his fault. It's their fault. But you know what I mean? It'll be another thing that he carries.
It's just things that he is the catalyst that starts the chain reaction to people to awful things happening, and it's like, hey, Solus, stop trying to do things. It's like,
what was he meant to do? Let them enslave the world.
I know. At that point, no, but like now it's like, hey.
Yeah, now he's gone too far.
Yeah, you've gone too. He's gone too far.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
I think that the veil is a problem and it needs to be fixed. And I think since the Magisters pierced it, it's been cracking this entire time, and that's why he's rushing, because the prison was already failing. So I think that he's not a dum-dum. I think there's a reason he was trying to do this stuff quickly, because the prison was always going to fail eventually.
Yeah, I think ultimately for me, it's like, Solus's again like misconception is the fact that he is doing it by himself, right? Like alone, like we do not. What am I saying? Like when you have like a plethora of ideas, your organization is always going to be stronger. It's why we want diversity and things. Like we want a diversity of thought. We want a diversity of ideas. Solus is one man who, though like he's lived this really long life, he does not have the breadth of imagination to imagine a different way. That is his failing, and that is his folly, that he is doing it by himself, because he's like, and I think also he's always constantly inviting that in. He's just like, if there's another way, please show me. This needs to be done though. The problem is everyone who comes to talk to him is just like, don't do this. There's another way. And I'm like, okay, I'm all ears, bud.
This comes up in the callback into Winter Nights where there's the demon of regret, and it says, and it becomes like a spirit of contemplation that says, well, what a thought that I was not allowed to have. What if there's another way? So I'm really hoping we get spirit gates or something, because I don't think spirits deserve to be locked up forever. No one ever talks about that. It really bugs me.
I think for having like I view like the veil as like dam removal, the process of dam removal. Which I know way too much about dams. I'm a nerd. But like dam removal in the United States, the dam removal in the United States specifically is really a difficult thing to do, because when dams went up, they went up typically for like technological advancements and such. You know, they provide electricity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But when you put up a dam, it irrevocably changes the environment around it. Now we're having issues in which the dams around the United States are deteriorating rapidly along with the rest of our infrastructure. So it comes to a point where like, okay, do we keep trying to fix the dams and like how much money is involved in that process, or do we try to like remove the dam and reinstate the natural environment, because some of these dams are causing environmental strife? And so there's this big dam removal has like several steps in each individual communities, and some people are like, no, we don't want the dam to come down because then we'd have to move our houses, and they're like, well, if you don't move your house, the dam's gonna move it for you when it breaks. But these are real problems.
This is like really close comparisons to what we're seeing.
Exactly. So dam removal is like a really complicated issue, because people are like, well, I live here on the other side of this dam. And I'm like, well, this dam's causing so much problems, and we can't, one day this dam's going to break no matter how much money we put in an effort into fixing the holes and stuff like that. And also the dam's actually really bad for the environment as well. We get that you live here, and that's a really hard thing, but this dam's coming down either way. So we can put in the effort to like slowly remove, because there are ways to do dam removal that don't cause catastrophic damage. Usually we don't get to go to that point because so many people are so resistant to actually removing the dam, because people don't want to move. People like living where they live, because most people stay like in like a 20-mile radius from the place where they're born. That is just the fact of most people on planet Earth. But the thing, like, but now these things keep on happening. Dams keep breaking every year, and people are still like, nope, I don't want to hear any of the other solutions. I don't want to move. And then eventually, sometimes the government has to come in and like, we're taking down this dam. Like, and for me, in my mind is like, that's the position that Solos is in, because he's like laying out all these reasonable facts about this. Like, films like, it's like when it was like Patrick and there's like, yep, that's me. Like, very much listing out all the reasons why the dam is a problem. And then at the end they're like, yeah, no, I'm not moving. Leave the dam up, after listing all the reasons why it's a problem. I feel like that's the place where Solus is at, because Solus can invite people to like help him out. He can explain the problem fully, but then it comes to the problem where like after he's explained everything, at the end someone's going to be like, I still want the veil to be up, and now they know his plan, and now they can stop him more efficiently. So he's stuck between a rock and a hard place, like, and ultimately I'm always just like, what the fuck do you want this man to do, right? Like, trust people. Yes, I think I do want him to trust people, but there's a legitimate reason why he doesn't. Just given like the backstory, and I don't know. So I'm glad that he's gonna be stuck in a place where he has to go to therapy. So he can.
I want to see him emotionally break down. I can't wait. I want a scene like we see in Cassandra, if you've got low approval, where she's like drunk. I want to see like him just completely destroyed, because he has had this responsibility on him for so long that now he's just like. Just gone, oh, you want me to do my bio? I did biomedical science as my degree, so I have like a cell membrane transporter protein thing that I go into.
I know when you were like, I want to see Solus in a low place, like, and you compared it to Cassandra, I was like, oh, and then my first thought was, he's just surrounded by cups of tea. Just like,
I just want him drunk. Because when he's drunk at the Winter Palace,
just drinking tea, and it's like, why do you drink that? You hate it. Because the world is awful. Just drinking tea.
I hate everyone. We're gonna see this whole like grief cycle. The man is mourning everything that he has lost, and this is the thing. How would an immortal grieve? This is what we're seeing. I think it's so interesting. I love his character so much. But no, I do want transporter proteins. I could go into detail about that, but it's not that interesting.
You know who I would love to see Solus yell at? Random character I would love to see Solus just chew out. Zathrian from Origins.
Yeah, I did a video about him today.
I would love to see Solus just be like, You fucking did what? Like,
Yeah,
what?
I mean, he outright just murders people who enslave spirits.
Yeah.
I mean, they need to do something about the Veil and spirits because
Yeah.
it's the whole.
They definitely
like,
do.
we've had-
It's this whole.
And I'm so excited for it.
I'm excited too. I hope there's some kind of middle ground or like some kind of plan because
I think there'll be a middle ground.
You know the Inquisitor has been working on something for these past 10 years. Like they have to have been working on
I don't
something.
think they will have. I don't think the solution is going to come from the Inquisitor. I think it'll come from something like.
I think it's going to come from Rook.
It's going to come
Yeah, I
from.
think
It's
that's
going to come
fine.
from the outsider perspective of Rook,
Yeah.
which is like someone who is not involved in this already, which is what the Inquisitor wanted.
Which is what,
They-
when you think about it, it's what Solus did in the first place. Coming up with the Veil was an out-of-the-box idea that he did to try and fix things, and I think that Rook is meant to be a mirror of Solus, then I could see that happening, where they're going to come up with an idea that's wacky, but it manages to maybe fix some things, but then probably causes another problem further down the line, and that's when we get the reboot of the series going into the next Dragon Age game, because I think that this is an end of an era.
Do we think we're going to be in the continent where the Kunari first came from in the next franchise, maybe? Like,
I don't know if we'll go the other way to the Volta Sea,
no,
because there's weird stuff that way. There's like there's a weird port and there's a reference to it on
they brought
Trespasser.
it. They brought it up.
But
a
I
couple
don't know
times.
if it'll be interesting to see what they do with the Canary. It depends what they do with the Canary and Veilguard.
Yeah.
I'm worried.
I am worried
know,
too.
I-
I really don't want them to just be fodder because, like,
Yeah, I hope not.
I mean, they're already fodder for the Qun, but they're already enough fodder. They don't need to be fodder for Gil too.
Yeah. I don't. Well, good luck to anyone who plays Dragon Age 5. I'm getting off the train with Solus. I'm sorry. I'm like, okay.
I
bye.
I don't know.
Did
if
you
I,
get into Dragon Age with Inquisition? Or did you get into Dragon Age with Inquisition, Brian?
I feel like
Brian.
that is. I mean, technically, when I say that I play these games for Solus, I got into Dragon Age because of Solus. Like I watched a Solavellin romance playthrough,
Nice.
and I'm like, I'm in. I'm gonna get to you. Wait, I'm gonna play, and I'm gonna get to this man, and romance the socks off of him. Yeah, because my friend was like, "Oh, you like Kylo Ren? Here's Kylo Ren on crack," and I was like,
similar,
and
yeah.
then I watched the romance, and I'm like, "Ugh, I need."
It's just it's so good. No, I used to work in a video game store back in 2009, and I played Mass Effect, and then I was straight into Origins, and then that made me play D&D and ruin my life. We didn't. It's
Yeah.
just I have no free time.
I had always been into fantasy because, like, I grew up watching Lord of the Rings and stuff. But then I played Dragon Age Origins, and I was in my little jock era where, like, games are dumb when I was like a sophomore in high school. And then I played Dragon Age Origins, and I was like, never mind, games are awesome again. And I was like, back to playing video games all the time.
Yeah.
But someone in chat said they think the Kunari used to be underground. I don't think the Kunari used to live underground, but there
don't know.
There is reference to a race of lizard people that the dwarves, the scaled ones.
Yeah.
I'm curious about that.
I think they're Krogans without armor, and it's just a big joke to BioWare.
You
That's
think
my
it's- you think it's the
legitimate thing
Krogan?
on the scaled one is that it's just the Krogans, and it's because it's like ogres in thinking. I'm like, I have no idea.
You think it's just a big joke about
It was
Krogan?
another race that Gil was messing about with, but honestly, it's probably just.
I like
Krogans
that better because I
without
hope they
armor.
don't actually. I think there's no way to write underground lizard people without potentially running into problematic
Yeah.
content. Personally,
yeah.
I
think
don't.
they're just
Yeah,
gonna burn that. I don't think we're going to see anything about
Yeah,
it.
I
You
don't
see
think that-
them in the Temple of Dirthaman as well in Inquisition. There's a mural on the wall there of the scaled ones. I don't think we're going to see.
yeah.
I don't think we're gonna see them either. But like, it's like weird how it's just like a couple references and then it's like nothing else. And I'm like, I think they had plans for something involving them at one point, and then they were like, let's not do that. Like,
But if I don't know, you DM, right? Like you GM
Yeah.
Game Master, right? Like sometimes you plant seeds that don't ever see fruition because
Oh,
the story moves elsewhere.
so
and I think,
many times.
yeah, like
Especially when it's the plot point you really like spend a lot of time writing. You're like, oh, this is gonna be great, and then the party goes, no, we're really interested in stopping this other guy first, and you're like,
okay, yeah. Sometimes you just plant seeds.
Okay,
that
I'll
just
save
don't
this
come to
for-
fruition.
I'll save this for a book, I guess.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I'm writing too, and I'm just like, anything my players don't do, I'm like, okay, well, I can take that I was gonna do and put that in a book with a different character. Okay, but it's there's a lot of stuff they probably planned on doing that
Yeah.
never came to fruition. But like
The landscape of fantasy has also changed in a way that I think Dragon Age has not kept up with you.
Yeah.
Just because of how long it takes video games to be
Made.
like produced,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So like if you look at like the fantasy genre as it is now, Dragon Age is kind of outdated, at least with like its setting and things like that, and like conventions and things like that. They're trying to keep up with. I still love it. It's not like an indictment of it. It just definitely, it's harder to keep up than like traditional publishing or TV, you know.
Yeah, because when Dragon Age Origins came out, it was heavily inspired by Lord of the Rings and A Song of Ice and Fire, which were like, at that point, the Game of Thrones show hadn't even started yet, but like the books have been out for a decade or at that point, and it's like, so you can see those influences a lot in Origins.
Were these inspired by Baldur's Gate games as well?
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be a spiritual successor to BioWare's old Baldur's Gate games. And I find it so funny when people who played the old Baldur's Gate games when they came out, who were adults when they came out, are like, I don't like Baldur's Gate 3. It's not like the first two. I'm like, yeah, it's been 30 fucking years almost, dude. Like, of course it's going to be different. Like, you can't expect... Well, there's some games you can expect to be exactly the same after 30 years, but, like, not RPGs typically. Like, but...
I'm awful, though. Like, every time I played a new Dragon Age game... So, like, I played... Oblivion is what got me into the fantasy gaming genre. I love Elder Scrolls games. Well, mostly. Anyway, but I played Dragon Age Origins, loved it, went to play 2, and I legitimately hated it the first time I played it, and because I was just expecting it to be like Origins. And then I played it again and was like, oh, I get it now, this is fine. And then the same with Inquisition, I despised it the first time I played it, and then I played it again and was like, oh no, I get it. And then I figured out I might be autistic, and it was just dealing with change.
Yeah, I'm the
Well,
opposite.
that's why I'm looking at as much Veilguard as I can, so I'm ready for it to be different, because my brain, it just doesn't like.
I like the different because the gameplay is more in line with non-RPG video games I play. Like, I play a lot of games like God of War Ragnarok, and like I like Final. I love those games so much, and I liked Final Fantasy 16, and I like games like that. I like action RPGs that are. The gameplay is
Final Fantasy 16. I never know how to play Final Fantasy games because there's 16 of them.
You don't unless it's a numbered sequel with like another number after it. You don't have it.
You're okay.
You're okay. Yeah, it's like, but I like.
Not that I'll need to play anything for a while, but you know.
Like, I like action combat in video games, and like Origins was hard for me as a kid, and like I can play them now and I'm fine with it, and like I enjoy it for what it is.
I just use console commands now. This last playthrough that I did, I literally could not be bothered doing the combat and just kept doing console commands because I just couldn't be bothered.
That's why it bothers me when there's those people who are like, oh, it's not Origins, it's not real Dragon Age. The gameplay's so bad now. I'm like, did you think the gameplay in Origins was good? It's not. It's like...
Yeah, it's fine. It was good at the time, but yeah, I mean,
even then, like, that was... It had a lot to contend with because that was right after Mass Effect 1, and like there was other RPGs that were doing more action stuff that like BioWare was like, no, we're gonna stick to the traditional stuff. And it was fine in 2009 because people wanted more of that, but now we have so much like turn-based and real-time stuff because we have the Pathfinder games, we have the Divinity Original Sin game, Baldur's Gate 3, Pillars of Eternity, who all do that, and it's like. Weirdly enough, Dragon Age of Veilguard doing action RPG combat is doing something different for an RPG right now. Back in 2009, that would have been just doing the same thing everyone else was doing. So it's kind of funny. It kind of mirrors because back then, I remember when the game came out, a lot of my friends who liked RPGs didn't want to play Dragon Age Origins because they said the combat looked boring. And
yeah, I wonder if they're trying to align with the Mass Effect playstyle a little bit closer so they can get more of the Mass Effect fans to cross over. Because sometimes, like, I've got friends who literally won't play Dragon Age because it's fantasy, and I'm like, play the damn game. You love Mass Effect. It's got Padre Weeks is writing this as well, and you love those characters. Come on.
And it's like its gameplay is definitely like that, and it's got right down to the 3. Like you get 2 party members, which it's like that's a Mass Effect. That's something that they brought over from Mass Effect.
Fantasy Mass Effect.
It is now finally Fantasy Mass Effect, which that was the joke when Dragon Age 2 came out. Was everyone's like, oh, they're trying to make Fantasy Mass Effect, and it's like. Just because it was a dialogue wheel. And it's like, now the Veilguard's like, no, we're actually Fantasy Mass Effect now. And then anyone who really enjoys Dragon Age and Mass Effect is like, I'm fine with that. Like it's like,
yeah, I don't mind as long as my Inquisitor can just kiss Solus once. I'll be happy with this game. That's all I need. Just one.
you two are gonna be kissing Solus, and my Inquisitor's just gonna be like, bro. And then they're just gonna walk away.
I'm so intrigued to see how they're gonna make this work. I have faith. Trespasser worked, so I'm sure we're fine.
Trespasser did work.
I guess I don't necessarily have faith, but like which maybe I've been burned one too many times. Yeah. But more so I play games so I could have like fan fiction fodder, really, like so I'm like I was like as long as I get like good content to work with, I'm gonna work it out in the remix on AO3. Don't even worry about it. That's how I feel. Like
what new companion are you like most excited for? I'm obsessed about Lucanus after
Davrin. I'm excited about Davrin. I think
Davrin, yeah.
Davrin looks so cool.
I am concerned.
I hope he doesn't get the will. I hope he doesn't get the will treatment. Like,
I'm worried that that's gonna happen.
It's already happening with the fan base a little bit. People are like not excited about Davrin, and they're like, oh, he just looks kind of boring. And I'm like,
well, I don't know. I see Davrin all over my FYP.
Yeah, I don't. You're on the wrong place.
You need to find. You need to find. But I'll send you
I'm trying. That's why I'm mutuals with all you guys now. I'm trying to get away from the people who hate all the good things. But it's also because I'm big on. I have such a widespread Baldur's Gate 3 TikTok like spread now, and it's like a lot of the people who like. There's so many people who are like, oh, I hate Will. It's like, why? Give me a reason why you hate Will. Oh, he's boring, and I'm like, you don't actually. That's not why you hate Will. Let's just say it that way. But it's like,
yeah.
But Davrin.
I think it's also like why I'm again. I'm gonna be honest. Most of the time, I don't give a rat's ass about what any fandom has to say, really. Especially if like, I'm always going to look at the writers in the franchise of whatever we're working with. People aren't given reasons to like characters like Will or Vivienne by the writers. They do not give those characters due diligence. And with like Davrin so far, with only the promotional materials be like, oh, he's a Griffin daddy. I'm also just like the writers probably did again. I think also there's this fear of also taking like black characters and making them really like nuanced or interesting because they're afraid to I think be called labeled problematic. So oftentimes I think like black characters that are put into positions of like heroic roles don't get to be like as nuanced. Like how Solus in like his original character art, it does appear like a man of color, and then they're like, we're gonna make him white presenting, right? Even though for me, I always look at Solus, I'm like, this is coded to be someone who's like indigenous or a person of color, right? That's how he reads to me, like with his character arc. It makes more sense, but like it's scary to put a character of color in that role because they know that they're going to like there's probably going to be unnecessary hate attached to it, and it just so there's like a fear around it. So I feel like Davrin I'm excited about because he's so handsome, and I love any character that's like knight-like. I love a paladin. So I'm excited to romance him on the principle of the matter, but at this point, especially with the way that they're promoting the character, I'm not like abundantly like there's like, oh, he's really charming, which I'm glad I like that and things like that. The reason why people are like crazy over Lucanus, right, is because there's some like grit there with that character.
Yeah. And like he has a full story that's his story into Winter Nights. So I read that and was like, I love him just from that story. I have to like feel the character a little bit. But like the Davrin Vows and Vengeance episode, I know they're not written by the same people, but I actually really, really enjoyed that. Was one of my favorite episodes, and he comes across like really strong in that compared to some of the other companions. So I'm hopeful, but yeah, you never know.
I don't know. Even that I was just like, yeah, there's a different writing team, and yeah, I'm going to romance him, or I'm going to try to. Lucanus is being very distracting right now.
I'm either going. I've got 3 in my sights. I got Davrin, Nev, and Tash.
Tash looks good.
I don't want to romance Lucanus just because because I feel like they're gonna try to pull on my Fenris loving heart and be like, oh, he's the edgy guy who killed Udo, and I'm gonna be like, nope, you can't have me.
I'm hoping it's going to be more like Anders, but someone actually likes him. That's what I'm actually hoping, but we'll see. But it might be a bit both.
I'm interested in all the characters. I think they're all going to be cool. As far as interested for romance, really my top 2 are Davrin and Tash. Like, I'm so interested in both of them. I think Davrid's the best, like, just for personal preference. I think he's the best looking of all of the companions, personally, but that's just my type. I like muscles on me. I like muscles on other people. So, can you tell I romanced Karlach in my first playthrough and Halsin in my second? What?
I was really into Ezio in Assassin's Creed 2.
Oh
so
yeah, you had no shot at not romancing Lucan, but
I'm really intrigued by Emmerich. I'm really intrigued by Emmerich.
He's gonna be cool.
Romances.
Now you know what?
I want to do a dwarf Grey Warden. I'm thinking with Emmerich because no connection to the Fade and just listen to him info dump. I'm just gonna be like set. I'm excited.
You know what? I want Bone Daddy. I'm gonna romance Manfred. I love how RPG games keep making Matt Mercer major characters in their big games and not letting you romance him. Because we had Minsk in Baldur's Gate 3, and now we have... Which, fun fact, I don't know. I read this somewhere. I don't know if it's 100% true, so I could be wrong on this. But I read somewhere that he originally auditioned for Gale, but then he was asked to read for Minsk, and he went, fuck Gale, I want to be Minsk, because he loves Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 so much. And I'm like, I feel like I love Gale's voice actor, but
Tim Downey.
But that would have been so different if Matt Mercer voiced him. Like, Gale being voiced by Matt Mercer would have been interesting. But anyway, I
love Gale, and I got a print signed by Tim.
Ah, you're Gale.
I've also got an Astarion one. I have a collection.
Yeah, I need a Karlach one because
they're the only two I've got from Baldur's Gate.
She's just so. I'm hoping Tash is. I don't want her to be exactly like Karlach.
That's my Solus one. Just gonna randomly sat next to me. I should actually put them up somewhere, but
I'm waiting till I move to do all that. I'm hoping that the character writing is on par with like DA2's character writing. Like that's what my hope. And I'm very much excited for every character, and even like the faction characters. I've seen a little bit of them, like the ones you can meet. I'll say this: the first warden's a dick. Like that's all I'll say on that front. Like. From what I've seen, but I
struggle with wardens. I'm sorry, I really struggle to care.
I struggle with the wardens too.
I think we had so much warden stuff in like Origins that now I'm like, but what else have we got? Show me a lot of fortune.
I think like my first playthrough, I'm either going to do an Elven, Grey Warden warrior or a Kunari Shadow Dragon warrior. One of the two. Like those are my two. Because I tried to, I'm like, I don't think I could justify Kunari being a Grey Warden because they're like so rare in like the parts of Thedas where
Varric says that there are some in Inquisition. There's some banter about Kunari Grey Wardens.
Yeah, but so I feel like
they exist.
I feel like a Tal Vashoth living in Tevinter would absolutely join the Shadow Dragons like instantly. But I feel like an Elven Grey Warden that just kind of feels like a Dalish Elf Grey Warden like. Who's trying to stop the Blight and his own gods. Like, I feel like that's a good mix for, like, playing a Warden in the Veilguard. Plus, like, they have the coolest looking armor, in my opinion, and I'm a Paladin guy, and if you give me fancy, pretty looking armor, like, that's why I have pretty looking armor, like, for my Paladin cosplay, and I'm like, I like the way the Grey Warden armor looks, and I'm a sucker for aesthetics.
No, it looks amazing. I mean, Lord of Fortune, I was always going to do Lord of Fortune because pirates. And I didn't want to do Shadow Dragon until I'd played the game because I think for roleplay stuff, I want to know more about Tevinter before I do it. So
that's fair.
My headcanon is my elf is from Kirkwall and just got on a boat and ended up being a Lord of Fortune, and that's all the background that I need. But yeah, to do like, and the Veil Jumper again, I want to like see more of them before I do it. So I'm hoping to see Isabella. And that Lord of Fortune outfits look so good. Mage.
Briar, what do you think you're going to play at first?
Probably Lord of Fortune, because I think that's where the Inquisitor is. That's pretty much my explanation. And also just because of like, I don't know if on my TikTok I talk about my Inquisitor's lore a lot. My Inquisitor has a kid during Inquisition, and the kid's name, at least in like the fan fiction I'm writing, the nickname Bear gives that kid is Rook, and I'm like, if the Inquisitor is over with like the Lord of Fortune, I'm like their kid would be over there too, because my Rook, the first playthrough I'm gonna play my Inquisitor's kid going up against stepdad. That's the lore I'm coming into it with. So I was like, Lord of Fortune. If that's not cool. Where the Inquisitor is, I was like, I think that still makes sense. The most sense, I think, for like like for the lore that I've made up in my head. So I'm like all the other little snippets of backstories of like your origin for the other ones. I'm like, how would he get there? That's what I'm always like. I'm like, how would he even get over there?
It's so. I do like how they're giving us more like it feels a little bit more like Dragon Age Origins with like the factions you could choose from and like the back, and they give you like a pre-written backstory, but you can. I feel like they're gonna give you some wiggle room to like make your own like actual backstory.
The Mournwatch one is so cool, with just being a baby found in the crypt. That's like so cool.
Pretty cool. The Grey Warden one is just your commander ordered you to like let lots of people die, and then you're like, no, like. So basically, it's like your commander's. My theory is that warden commander ends up becoming first warden, and that's why there's like, because. From what I've seen of the first warden, he's an asshole anyway, so I wouldn't be surprised. But like, and of course they gave him a big curly mustache because the only character that's nice that can have a big mustache in Dragon Age is Dorian.
Like, Stroud was okay; he was there. I don't remember him being bad.
Stroud was, but his wasn't curly; it was just big.
Oh, okay, sorry.
But Stroud, like, I feel so bad for Stroud because he's just the like. Here, you're gonna get left in the Fade because they don't have Loghain or Alistair here. Like, it's like...
I made a joke of my stream on chat, I don't know, somewhere that was saying that for choices, if like characters were dead, they just replace them with Stroud, but it would just be Stroud at every single one. So whatever NPC was supposed to be there, like Fenris, but he was dead, you'd just find Stroud as like the replacement person. Obviously none of that. I was just like, I thought it was hilarious. They just need like a Stroud. You don't need. It's not hard.
It's like
then they not doing the choices, sort of matter.
I think it's funny. It's like, my name is Stroud. I'm a shadow dragon. Weren't you a Grey Warden? No.
Don't worry about it. Then it could be a lot of fortune and the slightly different style of moustache. There you go.
That's one of my favorite lines from Sarah when you talk to him after he gets left to the Fade. It's like, we lost one serious mustache there. It's like, really, Sarah? That's what you care about? It's like,
oh, of course you do.
But it's like, it's Dragon Age has like some of my favorite moments. It also frustrates me a lot sometimes with like lore and like things that I'm like story beats that I'm like, I wish, like we were talking about with Anders, I wish he was written by somebody who cared about him. It's like, thankfully Solas's writer definitely likes Solas a lot. So
yes,
thankfully.
Solas.
R.I.P. to everybody. I'm sorry that my baby princess is the main character.
You're like, sorry he's got main character. Sorry he's got main character energy.
Some of the discourse that went on with people getting annoyed with people calling certain romances more relevant than others, and it was like, look,
some of them are more. Well, like, obviously Solas is the most relevant, but like even like outside Solas, there are ones that definitely matter more to the world than others. Like, I think it matters more to the world if your Inquisitor romance is the possible Divine versus Blackwall. Like,
I mean, probably, but for the game that was
for the Veilguard,
dreadful, it feels like it's not. I don't know why people get annoyed at solo villains for getting excited about stuff. Sometimes it feels.
I feel like again, veteran Raylo. I've been here. I've seen I've seen this story before. It's just, I think for me, both as a solo villain, I love solo villain. I've been here for 8 years now, I think. Like, we are very passionate. We love him. We didn't get a lot in Inquisition in terms of like actual like cutesy romance scenes. We can't just go up to him and like kiss him or anything like that. In which, you know, other characters can have a little like their happy ending. They can walk off into the sunset, which is very frustrating. And then also we have to deal with a bunch of harassment for years and years and years. And I hear that, I see that. Let people be disappointed. I think let people be disappointed that their romance is not going to be relevant.
Like, I got to smooch Dorian all the time in Inquisition. You didn't get to smooch Solas. I got my happy ending. Now you guys need your closure.
Dorian is the example though that I think should appear, and the Inquisitors should have more closure, because Dorian's romance is also not fully.
It's not fully closed off. No,
they're still long distance. So I'd like to know that they're together, they're happy, and they have some reconciliation. But I'm just like, let Konn retire in peace.
Yes,
like, he'll be fine. And it's like Hawk with Fenris, that you get a mention of them and you get a mention about it, but I can't see why Konn would leave them a Barry puppies. He's got to look after them.
Konn is just, he's been through too much. Like that dude needs a break. Like, honestly, he needed to break after what happened to him in Origins. Like,
The last thing he needed was to get sent to Kirkwall.
oh, of all places, yeah, that's what's like.
Therapy.
It's like, hey, Knight Commander Gregor, did you think the place to send your most volatile knight lieutenant was Kirkwall? Like, dude, Gregor fucked up there, sending him to, and it's kind of that Gregor's the one who sent him there, and it's like, dude. Then again, of course, the most incompetent Knight Commander does that. Like, because that dude was just like, I don't know, I guess we're gonna go do the rite of annulment. I don't know what's going on. It's like going back and playing Origins after playing the other games and talking to like the Knight Commander, talking to the Templars in the tower. It's like, why are you all so dumb? It's like, guys, come on. We're talking to anyone in the Chantry in Origins. It's like, oh, God. But at least they're not as bad as Sister Patrice, because like I feel like she's my most hated character in Dragon Age is Sister Patrice. Like, I hate her so much, and like
She's just so.
I do the baby meme of yes every time she gets headshot by that Kunari. Like, I'm just like, yes. Although it is kind of satisfying that the Grand Cleric also goes, you're gonna go to prison, and just walks away from her. It's like, you thought I was on your side? No, honey. And then just walks away. It's like, but I don't know. I've come across a lot of shitty Soulless haters. Like, and there are like, but
I mean, the thing is, in any fandom space, in any fans of anything, they're just people, and you'll find shitty people who like Solus and shitty people who don't like Solus, and they'll find your page and they'll leave horrible comments. You delete them and move on with your life, because I'm not gonna not enjoy my egg for anyone. And if they've got Blackwall fans, I'm not gonna go in their space and upset them. I just don't like the dude. That's fine.
I know
But it's when you just get weird. I've been called mentally ill, enabling abusers, racist. I get all kind of weird comments. I just delete them and try and carry on with my life. But yeah,
it's also
because I've only just started posting in fandom spaces like this year. Like, I've always loved the games, but I've never really made content. And so just like getting that was to start with was just like, oh, I didn't know people were like this.
Yeah, they are. It's also a lot of ingrained misogyny, internalized misogyny too, because like, they'll say stuff like that to you, but meanwhile, one of my two favorite characters in Inquisition are Dorian and Bull, who are both they have some problematic opinions, but nobody gives me shit. And honestly, they have worse and more problematic opinions in some cases than Solus. And it's like way more. Like, Dorian straight up defends slavery in Act 1. It's like...
I think this is because, I've also made a video about this before. It is because people do not. I think it is significant that people do not find Solus attractive. People do not find Solus attractive, and therefore they do not believe that he gets to act that way. Because when people don't view you as physically attractive, if you have pride in yourself, or you act a certain way, you carry yourself a certain way, everyone is going to conspire against you to make sure that you do not feel that way. Which is why I'm always like, pride being Solus's flaw is a misconception, because he's constantly the one to be like, oh yeah, you're right, and things like that. Or you can have and while everyone else can be loudly wrong and still be conceived as like if we're talking about Cassandra's still very charming and very much like a fan favorite, despite being loudly wrong and deeply problematic in a lot of areas. And like, every character here has their problems and things like that. And I think that's part of the reason. Like, I'm like, oh, like, I know we could like talk about like, yes, like Iron Bull and Dorian. Iron Bull is intentionally charming. It's part of his character. It's part of the allure of this. How he does his spy work is by him shifting and being who everyone needs. So he is intentionally charming.
And he's very good at what he does too. Like, he is one of the Ben Hasrath's top agents. Like,
and people like being perceived as attractive. So if Bull wants to sleep with you, and you have the ability to sleep with him, like, really no matter who you play, that is part of the allure. With Dorian, he's also written in a way to set him up to be the gay best friend. Yes, there's more to his character, but he is, the way that his character writing is done, it lends itself to that. I think that was the intended way that they wanted that character to be taken and perceived, because I think they were like for a character whose like whole thing is like they're not their whole thing, but like a big part of their character arc is that gay journey. I think they put him into that role so people couldn't just easily dismiss him. They had to make Dorian likable, really charming, and things like that. Where Solus he gives it back to you whatever you give him, right? So if people are like rude to him, he's like, well, I'm gonna fuck you too then, bitch. And so like, but like when you're playing a game, and you have your very specific, also because Solus challenges a lot of the views that like were given in like the past games, right? He's like he's challenging all of those things. So like he's, again, hobo apostate. Everyone in the game is telling you that, again, he says, like, there's lots of ways to tell someone that's not worth listening to. Madman, all those things, like, he says it, like, people don't listen to me because the way that I present myself and the way that I look. People do not view that Solus deserves to be proud of who he is by the way that he presents. And also, he's a little bit autistic coded, and people inherently don't like autistic people, just socially speaking. Not like, don't make me, I'm autistic, please don't attack me. Just talking like, there's like a study that did like, people, even if someone doesn't know you're autistic, like within like 2 minutes of a conversation, people will decide that they don't like you. Like, they, just because just like, there's just, people look at an autistic person like, there's something off about you, I don't like you. Even if you didn't do anything wrong, there's something still a little bit off. And I think Solus is very autistic coded. A lot of autistic people like are attached to Solus with the way that he acts and the way that he talks to people, the strong sense of justice, the hyperfixation. Yeah, so I think like I think a lot of it, like with the issue with Solus's character is he's going to treat you how you treat him, and people when they're playing a game don't like the concept of them potentially being wrong. Right? So because that's so like you feel very right, like kind of when you're talking about like when you first started playing the game, is like if you feel very righteous in your fictional violence because you can't fathom how it would connect to the real world.
Exactly. Right.
It's very it's part of the reason why people like playing like Call of Duty. It's very vindictive, and like there's a certain like, I guess like joy or spark of like something when you get to just like deal out this very I don't know, simplistic justice, that you don't have to deal with any of the nuance of the real world, to have that power to kill the people that you have just unanimously labeled as bad, and to have a character that will challenge you on that is frustrating. So I think that's part of the reason why people don't like Solus. Solus doesn't let you just play the game any type of way. Like, he's there to disprove whenever you are a terrible person in game, right? Where other characters are like, oh, I'm gonna stick beside you even if I don't like that you did this terrible thing. Solus is gonna be like, nah, that was fucked up. I didn't like that. And he's gonna tell you right there. Like when you let the warden say, it cuts away to him going,
I love that. I love that disappointed sigh.
Yeah, the disappointed sigh. Yeah, that sigh. Whenever you like bring the wardens, it just it's like
yeah.
I do it every time.
I do it every time too. I do it every.
I make him watch. I'm like,
yeah. I know, like about Let's Play, I said it just for and I knew I was gonna get comments on it just for funny. Like he went, and I went, "Shut up, Solus." I had comments be like. I had some comments being like,
Tell us why, Solus. Why is it a problem? Why?
That was why, and that was my thing. Like, I was like, I know why. Like, I had to say this multiple times while Let's Play. Like, I know why. But Valdras here, my Kunari Inquisitor, he don't know shit. He's just,
I don't know why he hates the Wardens, apart from the Blight. But I mean, I have theories.
Well, like we have,
don't
really
know why he hates.
I don't mean just on that. I just meant like in. Like, a lot of the things he says, like, we know why now, like, a lot of the stuff that he talks about, but, like, my Kunari Inquisitor was like, what? Yeah, I have no fucking clue. Dude, I'm a mercenary. That's a lot of it. He's like, dude, I'm a mercenary who has a glowing green hand and people gave me power. I have no fucking clue what you're talking about. Like, it's like...
I always like his conversation, though, about the Wardens, though, and they're, like, blinded by yourself, that sense of duty, and how he talks about action is not inherently better than inaction, and I find it really funny as like it's relating to Solus and his character and his sense of duty, which is why I'm really excited to see Davrin and how he reacts to Solus, because I kind of want to see that other way around, if he can kind of relate to kind of what Solus has done in some ways, because I think Valara and Davrin are going to be oh, you're okay. It's just because they're like elven gods. I think Valara is going to be like that. I don't know. I think she's not going to be as, like, ruthless, whereas I think Davrin is a Grey Warden. You do have that, like, ruthless edge, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that comes across.
Yeah, I was seeing there was a clip where they were like talking, they were sitting around like little table at their chairs. And like Davern, at least in that little clip that we got, Davern was the one that was presented as being sympathetic to Solas, where, you know, she's just like, I don't fucking know about all
I
that.
really like Davern. I'm really excited to take
She's like,
all of
yeah, Balara is
like,
basically
I want to hear
like,
your point of view because you're kind of close in this as being part of this organization that puts duty before sacrifice for anything that to stop this greater threat, which is all what Solus believes, and he hates them. He hates them so much.
I saw that clip, and Balara was basically like kind of side-eyed. It was like, I ain't, basically looked like I ain't fucking with the Dreadwolf. Like basically that was the look she gave, and Davern was like, well, let's hear him out, cause like.
Have you seen the scene of the past where Balara's there? Because Balara makes a comment about like because.
I have not seen everything.
I haven't seen everything.
That's fine.
Because I have not watched everyone's individual playthroughs because I kind of like what the stuff is like generic. I want to do it myself. So like I'll hear about it and I'll read about it, but I have not watched everything. I'm not like on the hunt for everything.
I'm on Kyler Elizabeth's Patreon. Watch her YouTube for people.
Yes, yeah, it'll be nice.
I don't steal, but I use that stuff Reddit sometimes.
Yeah, I love Konn. I reacted to their character creator video for what I was reacting to the character creator, and I was like, so I love Konn. Konn is great. Like,
Kyle's content's amazing.
And I've been subscribed to her for so long. It's like before I even got on like Dragon Age or TikTok at all, I've been subscribed to Konn for so long.
Patreon on the video that she did for Lucanus, so the one that shows the Lucanus thing, it's got Lady_Crazy_Dragon at the end, and I'm like, yay! So I'm on the Lucanus.
Like my name. I'm
amazing.
Honestly, I wasn't paying. I'm gonna admit, I wasn't paying as much attention when Davern was talking in any of those scenes because I was just staring at his open. I was just staring at his open shirt and his chest.
I'm only looking at your titties right now. I'm so sorry.
Varric walked so.
See, I'm such a.
Varric jogged so Davern could sprint it. That's called
Varric looks so hot in Veilguard. I never was really into Varric until Veilguard, and now I'm sold. And I'm like, I get it. I'm so sorry I was behind the Varric.
You said, I need to emotionally connect with the character. Varric's so hot!
He is hot.
I'm emotionally connected to him as well.
I know.
I'm connected to Varric now. But yeah, it took me ages to get the Varric thing, and now I'm like, oh no, I'm getting it. Oh no. Varric's fine.
Oh no, what? You gave the masculine looking man beard and long hair and he became hot? What? Who could have predicted that?
It's the winter. It's in the rain. It's the scene in the rain. I'm like, why are you making it rain? And it's like, never mind, it's fine.
How many times is Sarah gonna blush on camera playing this on stream?
I'm just gonna cry and simp. That's my entire Veilguard experience.
Cry and simp. I mean, every time Davern talks, I know I'm gonna do the joke at some point where I look down at my camera and then Davern, what? Just like as a joke. Like, obviously I'm gonna listen to what he has to say, but like, because he's very. But God damn, Davern's so pretty.
They made him hot. They know exactly what they're doing, and I think he's gonna be a giant flirt.
And even in his armor, he's got the buckles undone, so you can still see his chest. It's like, you know what you're doing, BioWare.
Yeah. Davern's only flaw for me is that he has a warden. I'm also with Solus, and I don't like the wardens. I don't know why Solus doesn't like the wardens. I know why I don't like them.
I want to know what the deal is. I think there's something like I didn't know
something to do with them
the
being
old
blighted.
Was doing something to the prison, like it was weakening the prison or something. But I have no idea.
That's the thing. We know that Gil and Elgar'nan bring out 2 archdemons in the game, and there's only and there's only 2 archdemons left.
Yeah, so it's that.
So it's like, after this is over, no more blights? Because the
hopefully, the calling's cured, no more brood mothers, and I can actually play a female brood. This is why I don't like the Grey Wardens, because it's only female Grey Wardens that can turn into brood mothers, so I never want to play a woman again as a Grey Warden, and it annoys me.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm deeply suspicious of any organization that facilitates the necessity of death and also the recruitment. Sketchy. Every recruitment that you can get in Origins is deeply sketchy. Like, if the choice between something is death and death, like, you're gonna choose the prolonged thing, like, you know, right? Like, if you play like they kind of come in and swoop in as being presented as sort of like heroic. I'm like, oh, the warden saved you to like. It's not like it makes me deeply. It's a death cult.
Yeah. No, you're right. And they killed the Jordan. I can't remember his name.
Jory.
The one who doesn't want to do it.
Justice for Jory.
They just kill him. And
like,
it's like,
yeah.
oh shit.
Like, I honestly, Duncan didn't even try to talk to the man. Like, he just jumped straight to knife in the gut. It's like, Duncan! And then afterwards, you're like, I can't believe you killed Jory. And he's like, I mean, he knew. Like, he knew there was no turning back. And I'm like,
yeah.
But you didn't even try to calm him down.
Different in the moment as well.
Like,
yeah.
But Duncan is like, I've heard people say, oh, Duncan was just reacting to the moment. Nah, he was slow and methodical. He was calm when he did that. It's like, that's not the first time Duncan has killed
He's done that. He's done that lots of times.
Yeah.
And I think that's
he's warden commander of Ferelden. Like, he's had to. Like,
it's alarming. Like, I know, like some people are like, the wardens are heroes and they should be treated as such. I'm like, if an organization can be so easily corrupted in the way that they are in Inquisition because of this, like, I think that should be cause for alarm and reason why I'm like, I think for me, like, I like to keep the wardens just to get Sol's little reaction, but I think like, at least from an in-game standpoint, like when I write about it in my fan fiction, it's more so I'm like, yeah, I feel like the way I present it is like the Inquisitor's like, I have so much shit on my plate, I cannot deal with other bullshit that you guys have got going on. Go elsewhere. I think that I feel like that makes sense to banish them. People are like, why would you banish the wardens? What if you need them? We'll be right now I've got other issues that are not the blight, that are not possessed wardens.
And people talk about
people
talk about the wardens and they're like, oh well, in Inquisition, like you talk about them getting corrupted. It's like, oh well, Clairo came around at the end. Clairo was also just a easily manipulated idiot. Like, and also that's one thing of the writing Inquisition that bugs me is especially if Alistair is a warden, that people don't listen to a veteran of the Fifth Blight and a hero who's like literally sitting there protesting against Clarel. Like, Alistair's like, no, she's wrong, and immediately everyone turns on him. I'm like, I don't buy that for a second in reality.
I do, because that's the nature of like death cults. That's how they break down your sense of reason and logic, and that is how the wardens are able to facilitate what they do, which does have like a net positive in a sense, at least to what we know. So Liz might have some further insight that maybe what the wardens are doing is not necessary. Again, he's not sharing. But yeah, I think that like the way that they facilitate the existence of the wardens, I think when you think about like when like Blackwall or Rainier talks about like the who joins the wardens, that you join the wardens for this hope of redemption, right? And it's a very attractive
they're kind of like the Night's Watch in that regard. They're similar to the Night's Watch.
I think a little bit like, because I think when you go to the Black Watch, you're not really hoping for redemption. Everyone kind of hates their life up there. It really is a punishment. But with the Grey Wardens in a place in which like the Chantry, you want to seek redemption if you are raised in that faith, right? It makes like it's very attractive. It's a very seductive thing, and so I don't like the wardens because of that, because it just like
it's totally understandable. Like
it's a cult.
Yeah.
And
that's what Solus calls him about. If you have low approval Solus, because I modded it because like I have low approval Solus, and he says, do you want to join their little cult? And he's like, that's exactly how Solus sees it. It's a cult.
And yeah, they're a necessary evil in the world of Thedas, like, right now, but it's like, are they, with the Blights are over, what do we do with the the Wardens are probably gonna, and Wardens have also done terrible things, like we see in Origins even, when Sophia Dryden literally summons demons with blood magic to try to overthrow the government of Ferelden. Like, she did terrible, and then the game tries to paint her out like she was the good guy, and it's like, no! She was trying to overthrow a government. Like, King Arlen was a dick, but, like, she was trying to overthrow a government with blood magic. Like, not cool. Yeah. Like, the Wardens have done shitty things, and they get almost no consequences. Like, and I think Loghain was right to be suspicious of them. Like, I think he was very...
Oh, yeah, I can understand them suspicious.
Like, I don't think Loghain is justified in what he did in Origins, but, like, I think he was understandable why he had his reservations.
The call at Ostagar is the point where I'm like, I can kind of see why he
it's everything
did it.
After
I don't think
Ostagar.
The way he did it was great, but I can see why he did it. But yeah, everything after, like poisoning the elves, selling your family to slavers.
But in my thing is in Inquisition, like, I don't see how Chlorel fell for Aramond, because Aramond is a fucking idiot. Like, Aramond is the least...
Honestly, they need to do some work to make Grey Wardens not the caricature that they are in Inquisition, because they do come across as falling for this stuff really easily without much context. So when you're just the player playing it, you're just like, why are you so dumb? So hopefully they do a bit more rebuilding to make them...
The logic of, oh, well, they're scared of this calling that they're all hearing, and it's like, I feel like they should be suspicious that there's a calling that is affecting all of them, and they should know it's not the real calling because of that, so they should be like, we need to figure out what's going on here. Not, let's summon an army of demons and go into the deep roads.
I think one thing that is really, like... when we were writing, like, trying to create, especially in fantasy as well, we wanted to make sense, right? But if you've ever met someone who's deep in the evangelical church, I don't think you can be confused about why the wardens act the way that they do, right? Like, I've met several of those people in my life who are so deep in denial because they've been so trained up to be easily seduced, easily convinced, through fear, right? And also they're hearing this fake calling, right? As well. It's like, and I'm like, there's so much build, and we don't know, like, I don't know. For me, I'm like, this is just an evangelical church meetup. I get it. Like, and like when I'm talking, and like, and also I think, like, you know, when we're writing, like, trying to like make racism make sense, these are not logical positions, right? No. Like, these are not inherently logical positions, and I think it's very easy to be like, I want this to make sense. These things usually don't. No, they usually don't have like a logical explanation. It is frustrating from like what? Because it's frustrating in real life as well, right? Like when you're trying to
autistic brains just like, I don't get it.
Your autistic, my autistic brain that needs reason is like. That's my headcanon from why my warden really went off. He's like, oh, I'm going to find a cure for the calling. Why? Because every other Grey Warden is stupid. Just leaves. He's like, they're all idiots, and I don't want to be around them.
Real. I think I do think the writing can do better, but I think it's really easy to want things to make sense when most times in the world they don't really. I think one of the issues that I do have in Dragon Age with the writing is that, like, I don't like. I think it leads into them, like, they're trying to, in the places in which they try to make things make sense, in which they just don't. Like, they try to create these axioms in which there are necessary evils. Like, oh well, they needed to do that. I'm like, well, you've written this very finely tuned scenario in which this needed to happen. Well, you didn't have to write it like that. Yeah. Now we all have to live in this world in which I have to be sympathetic to this guy for making this decision when you wrote it like that in a way that, like, it's just like, why do you write it like that? Like, now they're trying to like make you believe that there are necessary evils in this world to facilitate like a specific story.
It's definitely like that as a writer. Like, when you play a game like as not a writer, you just go, oh, well, what would I do in this? But when you have written stuff yourself, you're like, well, they wrote this so that there was no other way out. Like that. Sorry, Sarah. Like, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say like Orsino, where it just in Dragon Age 2 that always felt really strange. I mean, the guy's broken and he's got all his dead friends around him, so I just kind of put it to, like, trauma.
Konn made a good video about that, where Konn, responding to my comment, where Konn was like, yeah, well, like, it's not supposed to make sense because Orsino is a broken man and he's, like, just doing, and it's like, and he knew that, like, no matter what, Meredith was going to try to kill them all anyway, and it's like, yeah, but if he didn't do that, then he could have helped Hawk instead of just...
why don't they just drown as a birth line, though? That's a... Well,
yeah, he got me for a second.
Yeah. Why don't they just drown us as infants?
Oh, man.
I think also whenever coming into like fandom discussions, like determining whether you're talking about from like a Watsonian or Doyleist perspective is so important. I don't know if those are just words to people that I'm just saying out loud. But like,
I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll explain them. So what those terms come from, like, I'm gonna assume that you're familiar with like Sherlock Holmes, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like in Sherlock Holmes, the text, Watson has an injury, a war injury. Throughout the series, that injury changes. Sometimes it's in his knee, sometimes his shoulder, sometimes it's his hand. It moves around. So when you say like a Doyleist perspective, like, Arthur Conan Doyle. Hated that book series. Didn't put much stock into it. The Doyle's explanation for why the injury moves is because he hates those books. He didn't actually care what the injury was. He didn't remember. That's why it keeps moving. A Watsonian explanation is something that happens within the text. So like the reason why in the text Watson injury changes is because it's psychosomatic. Like he's not actually physically injured. He's having like mental trauma, which is why the injury moves around and why he like tends to it. It's due to trauma. So that's like whenever I'm having fandom discussions, I'm like, am I criticizing the writing right now, or am I just going to put my blinders on and just pretend that I'm a person in this universe criticizing the story based off of that? And I think that's so important to have like that distinction in fandom discussions, because like we can go around in circles in which I'm like, okay, this is a writing issue versus like, okay, I understand this is a writing issue. Like with Anders, I'm like, okay, Anders has a lot of things wrong with his writing, right? But if I just like, okay, I'm just gonna look at this from a Watsonian perspective of like him as a character in the universe without acknowledging the fact that the writing's fucked already. And so I think that's so important to be able to do that, like in certain moments of like, okay, is this like an in-universe problem or like a writing problem? And I don't know, I think it's so helpful. I think more people need to be able to do that.
And also, if people can say like when they're messaging and replying to stuff with what they're doing and what they're coming up from, it would also help a lot of discourse when I just get confused, because I'm like, I don't understand how you can say that, because that's not what's happening. I need people to distinguish. I made a video about this last week as well. Please. God.
Like, that's why I honestly, that kind of was like frustrating when I was doing my YouTube series, because I was role playing, but like would constantly be like, okay, out of character from a writing standpoint, this is why this bugs me. And I would be like, but then I'd be like, but in character, homie's fine with it. It's like one of those things where it's like, but like it was a little in my own brain. I had to fight my own brain. I played my warden as a super Andrastian noble, and I'm like, oh, this is tough. Like, this is not fun. Like, I'm like, but it's whatever. Like, there's so much evidence that to be fair, the Andrastian faith technically could be considered somewhat correct, because Andraste did have magic powers, but
well, no, she didn't. She wasn't a mage, was she? According to the chapter,
it
was all the Maker doing natural disasters to help her. That happened to look like spells.
Yeah, it wasn't magic.
The Vintners believe she was a mage, though, because what is it? Dorian says it makes him look less damning if they killed one of their own.
Is it good or bad that if the Orlesian Church is wrong, but the Tevinter Church is right? That's like,
I think they were right on. So I think again it'll be an amalgamation of the truth is somewhere in the middle. I think that's the thing with a lot of the stuff. Like, I think a lot of I do think that some of the lore is really interesting. I know some people say it's awful, but I actually think that when we get a completed picture, it'll be interesting to see how it all comes together. Because currently we are 3/4 through a story. We haven't got the end of it yet. So,
well, there are things that they are going to reveal. Like, they straight up confirm there are things that they're not going to say if they're true.
Oh yeah, they won't. I don't think they'll ever say if the Maker truly exists or not, and things like that, because it's so close.
I do like that, because I think oftentimes in fantasy, like, there's this need to like religion in our world often doesn't operate in the same, doesn't appear in the same way that like one of the issues like how do you play an atheist in Dungeons and Dragons, that kind of question, like there's no saying like, I don't believe they exist. That guy came down yesterday for hot dogs, like, right? I don't know, like that guy's real. You can't say that God's not real. And so I really like the idea of the Maker not being like existing in that realm.
Yeah, you can be an atheist. Faith. Like, you can, like, because we don't ever actually see, like you said in D&D, it's like, oh, I'm an atheist. Bahamut's over there. Like, Bahamut's right there, dude. He's
right there, dude. He's like, his cleric's on the phone with him. Like, you can't it's like, yeah, I'm an atheist. We just saw Tiamat rise out of the ground. Like, well, I don't believe she's. I've heard the argument. Well, I don't believe they're really gods. Like, nah, they're gods in D&D. Faerun is very much like, these are gods. Ao is real. Like, it's so and it's interesting, and I think also it's interesting the way that like Dungeons and Dragons also has this a little bit, as well as like the idea of like this god created, like when you get like God in like our universe or whatever, like he created everything, he created the universe, everything that's here he created. But like when you get to like dragons, you're like, okay, this is the god of like these people. This is the god of the elves. These are the people who made the elves and like they ruled over the
Yeah.
elves or whatever. Like, and it's an interesting difference, like where there's like individual like origins. I'm like, okay, then who made the whole shebang, right? And those aren't questions that are like sort of like really. I don't know. I think that's.
All we know is at one point there was a big dragon named Asgarath who decided my name's Ao now, and he made other gods and then said, "Have fun." That's all we've been told, which is still a creation myth, but it's like we don't even know if that's the truth. And it's like, so I like both aspects, like you're saying, like where there is some solidified gods are real, there's an afterlife, we know, versus a Dragon Age, it's like we don't really know anything about. I think
I think also just like the challenge of like what godhood means. I think you get that with Solus as well, of like like how he says like I like the idea of the maker, I like the idea of a god that need not prove that he exists, and I'm with Solus on that. I'm like, I like the concept of that. A god that you could just place faith in is, I think, a beautiful thing. I'm not religious, I'm Christian flavored, I always say, but like I find that a beautiful thing. Like people who like are truly that pure faith of like something bigger than them that created all this beauty out of love. I think that's beautiful. And so I think so I'm like with Solus, I'm like, I like that idea of a god that just is. And I'm kind of like, I don't want to know. Leave him be. Leave the maker be. I think that's really beautiful.
Well, I feel like nothing they do will be satisfactory if they if they reveal the maker. It's like
this and in real life.
And in real, it's like if God shows himself in Dragon Age, it's going to be super underwhelming, probably.
Like, I don't think we'll know. Like, I think the spirits were like the first kind of race, and that's what the Chantry believes, that they were the first of the Maker's children. And I think that that's probably going to be kind of true. And I don't think we'll find out who the Maker was, but I do think that's the part of the Chantry line that will probably stay, like, not confirmed or denied, that it'll be that who created the spirits wasn't the Maker. I think that that's the bit which I kind of like. I like the idea that he did create them, but whether or not that like spirits, they don't like humanity because they don't possess souls is the thing that the Chantry says. Now that sounds like Chantry rhetoric, Chantry propaganda, and that's when the stuff turns. It's someone creating something, as you say, out of love. I think is a much nicer thing to believe than just pushing hate messages like the Chantry does.
Yeah, I'm definitely someone who I definitely tend to try to believe just about people and especially fictional characters. I always try to give a fictional character like the benefit of the doubt. When people are like, oh, it's actually like these they've been planning this all along or whatever, I'm always along like they probably had like a good reason in their brain for why they did the thing that they did, you know. They probably had some explanation like that.
Most people aren't doing stuff to just twiddle mustaches and sit and cackle in the background somewhere. They have a reason for it, which is the saddest codex entry to read for NRL.
That's why it always makes me so wild when people are just like, oh, Solus is pure evil. I'm like, do you think Solus is just, he's not twiddling his mustache, is he stroking his bald head going "Nahaha" in the background because he has.
That's literally what it says in the codex entry for Fenrirel, though, is that he's like sat giggling in the corner somewhere, like, and it's like.
Well, because
I was going to do an edit that was reading that out with just the Trespasser music and just edits of Solus looking sad, and I just never did it. I should do that.
You should do that one. That would be good. But it's one of those things where it's just like people will try so hard to villainize a character they don't like, and like. That's why I think it was honestly a smart move to change the name from Dreadwolf to the Veilguard, even though Dreadwolf is a cooler name for a video game. Like, I feel like making it look like, oh, Solus is the villain is like. But he's not, though.
I don't even think when they named it Dreadwolf that was actually.
But people would have made that. But people would have done that.
But sorry. You're okay.
No, you're good.
No, you go.
No, I was gonna say, because like the story is just inherently kind of the Dreadwolf story at this point. Like we're fighting his enemies in his house with his memories and his dagger. So I think that it was supposed to be centered kind of on him, and the choices that he made are a reflection of choices that Rook made, and I think the title was meant to reflect that. However, I think it was very easily to be seen, oh well, he's just the bad guy. So I think that stepping away from that name change could have made that a bit clearer. But it is Solus's world, and we're just living in it.
Listen, I'm gonna go through his whole house, and I'm gonna find all the little things he doesn't want me to find. And then when he's like, "Stop it," I'm like, "No," because he's gonna be in my head. I know he's gonna be in my head the whole game, and I'm gonna be like,
See,
No.
that's a good question. Is the Veilguard the organization Rook is a part of, or is it a new title for Solus? We don't know, do we?
We don't know what the Veilguard is.
I have a theory that the Veilguard are going to kind of be a force to protect the Veil, but from both sides. I think that there will be
I've had that theory as well.
That's a good
spirit.
one.
I think there's going to be a spirit gate, and it's going to be the role of the Veilguard at the end of it is going to protect both sides of the Veil, because there are malevolent spirits, and I think
that's a good theory.
Whatever the positive things that the Veil was doing, I think the Veilguard is going to eventually take up those tasks. Because there are legitimate concerns. Because when you hear a bit banter with Solus and you talk about, there are legitimate concerns that you think he kind of brushes off because he doesn't really know how to address.
Yeah. I mean, there are like the nightmare demon. We don't want that coming through. So
like
we need
there's
to have place that will stop stuff like that. So that's what I think
Desire
Veilguard will
demon.
be.
You think they're gonna bring Desire demons back finally? Because
I really want a male Desire demon. I know it's basic as
Dorian mentions one.
Exactly. That's what I want to see.
I don't think so. I don't think they're doing a Desire demon.
I don't think I think the times have changed. I don't know. Maybe they'll.
They redesigned the Pride demon. They redesigned the Pride demon, so maybe they'll redesign.
Yeah, well, if they can bring, I think the Desire demon with nuance, or I just think for me, if I was in their position, right, as a writer, I would wash my hands of it and not even attempt. Personally.
I don't know how they can do it.
I would just be like,
because in Origins of 2, it's pretty much just like, look at hot lady trying to seduce you. It's like, it's not very nuanced in
unless they can do it something that's like based off of like who you're romancing at that moment in time, and they like take the form of like who you're romancing.
That would be cool, but also please don't do that, Bioware.
Yeah, because then they would for sure know who you are desiring, and that could be a moment where like you're doing a whole quest and you're like, wait a second. You're not. Where is my boyfriend?
Where is Davrin? What have you done with him? If it's Lucanus,
I think that could be the only way that they'd be able to do that.
They do it with Lucanus, and it's like, he has enough problems with demons. Leave him alone.
You're like, what does Spite think? And then the Desire demon is like,
what? What do you mean?
You know where Spite came from? Do you know this? I
don't
saw
know
a spoiler about where Spike comes from.
Don't know.
I have not seen that.
It's really fucking sad. Zara was experimenting with spirits to create new demons, which to me just sounds like torturing spirits to create new demons. So I already feel really bad for Spite.
Oh,
I wonder what Spite's other alternative nature is, because I think like spirits.
I was thinking if it might be hope. We haven't had a spirit of hope before.
Spirit of hope.
Cole.
I was thinking
hope. Cole is compassion. Cole is compassion, not hope.
Cole's compassion.
Yeah,
Did I get you? Do you like hope? There you go. I was thinking Spite and hope are kind of wishing something upon someone.
It's
hope.
Spirit of hope.
People are saying love, and I'm like, it won't be love.
No,
I
really like the hope. I'm writing that down.
The spirit of hope.
I need to make that video. I'll make that video tomorrow.
It just looks like Superman. It's just
screaming. I think also like I vaguely, like, someone talked about this, and it's a theory that I really like. It was like years ago on Tumblr, talking about like how maybe some of the elves are like still embody like older spirits, and like and when Solus is talking about the Inquisitor's spirit, it's because elven like people, they come from spirits, so there is a spirit there that like he's like sensing and feeling.
I actually think this has some backup based on, I mean, it's awful from a writing point of view. The fact half elves don't exist is crap, but I think there's something about the fact there is something in the genes of elves that can take on the forms of others' DNA. So that's why you only get humans, is because they're receptive to what they're getting. So that to me makes it feel like there is definitely that connection to spirits still there, that it's just kind of suppressed. So yeah, I think that's actually a really cool way of seeing that.
Yeah, so like so the question that someone asked on Tumblr was like, oh, what would your elven inquisitor, like what would the spirit they'd be attached to be? And I really love that, like, it's like a fun like question, like, well, what do you think what emotion do you think your inquisitor would embody as a spirit? And I really like that question, especially if people are theorizing about the inquisitor becoming a spirit with Solus and things like that. Anyway, that's a little extended, but I really love that question and that theory. I think it's like really sweet in a way.
It reminds me of my server. We did a witch tarot card as your Inquisitor, like kind of represent. I had the Queen of Wands, which I then found out was Morrigan's card in the game, and she's also got the same eyes as Morrigan, and she drank from the well. And I was like, oh yeah, she is Morrigan coded. But yeah.
All right, well, I have to get going and head off to take care of my kid and do stuff like that. Do fun parenting things. Give my
I have to get to bed.
yeah, it's late for you.
It's
It's
so
late
late
for
over there.
It's so late over there. But anyway, thank you to, and also thank Konn for joining me on stream today. This was a lot of fun. Fun just talking Dragon Age with you guys. I just had fun just rambling for almost 4 hours with you guys. This was a lot of fun. But yeah, for you all in the video for YouTube right here. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, please leave a like down below. Subscribe if you want to see more Dragon Age stuff.